Chapter 63. The Name of the Spear. Ting Qingshan looked at the godly weapon and looked at his father and grandfather, who had been forging the godly weapon for 18 hours without rest. Ting Qingshan suddenly sighed. In his previous life, he was lonely, but in this life, he had parents who loved him dearly, a cute little sister, and many simple clansmen. His previous life and this life were like reincarnation, and this life made up for the regrets of his previous life. This spear, let's call it reincarnation, Ting Qingshan said. Reincarnation? Ting Yongfan and Ting Yunlong looked at each other. They had thought of many names, such as Cold Iron Spear, Purple Patterned Spear, Cold Star Spear, and many others, but they had never thought of the name reincarnation. After thinking for a while, Grandfather Ting Yunlong laughed and said, Reincarnation, reincarnation, hell's reincarnation. Once this godly spear is unleashed, it will make the enemy fall into the nightmare of the 18 levels of hell. Good name, very artistic. Yongfan, this kid Qingshan is much more powerful than you. Even his name is so good. If he is not more powerful than me, his father, then wouldn't each generation be worse than the previous one? Ting Yongfan laughed happily. Ting Qingshan had only lamented about his previous life and the fickleness of fate, which was why he named the spear reincarnation. He didn't think that grandfather and father would think so much. Qingshan, try this spear, Ting Yunlong urged. Ting Yongfan's eyes also brightened. If his son could use the godly spear that he had painstakingly forged, he, as a father, would have no regrets. Feeling the coldness of the spear, Ting Qingshan shook his right hand and held the end of the long spear. The 108 jin long spear was held horizontally and said, Father, grandfather, please take a few steps back. While speaking, Ting Qingshan also felt the strength of the reincarnation spear. Because the materials of the spear were different, different spears had different difficulties in listening. For example, the reincarnation spear weighed 108 jin, and the spear shaft was very dense, so it was more difficult to listen. However, Ting Qingshan, who had long reached the realm of one with the spear, grasped the spear and felt it for a moment, completely comprehended the strength of the reincarnation spear. Who? Ting Qingshan fiercely pulled the long spear, holding it in his left hand and swinging it with his right hand. In an instant, the entire long spear turned into a circular phantom, as if a cover was covering Ting Qingshan. Then, it stopped abruptly. The dancing spearhead was still trembling. Then, he exerted force in his right hand and thrust the spearhead forward 3 times. Puff, puff, puff. The speed was so fast that it produced a sonic boom. In the description of spear techniques in his previous life, there was a saying that a stick was afraid of a point, and a spear was afraid of a circle. When a spear expert executed a spear technique, the spearhead would dance around, making it impossible to predict the trajectory of the spear, and it could stab someone to death in an instant. However, after reaching the realm of one with the spear, what he pursued was stability. What he pursued was the slightest bit of subtlety. As the saying goes, mountains are mountains, water is water. The mountain was not a mountain, the water was not water. The mountains were still mountains, and the water was still water. These 3 realms were also applicable to spear technique. The spear was afraid of the round. That was what most spear practitioners pursued. A true expert wanted absolute control. If one wanted to pierce through half the thickness of tofu, they would not pierce more than half. If one wanted to stab the flies on the glass, they would not damage the glass. This was precision. When Ting Qingshan executed the long spear, the spear was as fast as lightning. Moreover, it could suddenly change its trajectory at the last moment. If he wanted to stab, he would stab. The combination of illusion and reality was a true spear expert, making it impossible to defend against. Toxic Dragon Drill. Ting Qingshan excitedly executed the spear. He held the center of the spear shaft with his right hand and poured inner strength into the long spear. At the same time, he released an inward rotating force. like an electric drill piercing through a wall, the entire long spear fiercely drilled, and suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning. The surrounding air became chaotic, making the spear's shadow blurry. The moment the long spear drilled, boom! An ear-piercing sound of an explosion suddenly resounded. It was like a spring thunder, scaring Ting Yongfan and Ting Yunlong to the side. The entire Tingjia village suddenly became noisy. Many clansmen shouted, "The furnace exploded!" One after another, they ran towards the weapon shop. The moment the long spear left his hand, Ting Qingshan hastily grabbed the end of the long spear and took 2 steps forward before he could steady the long spear. The toxic dragon drill move was extremely powerful and had a drilling force. At the same time, there was a brief moment when the spear left his hand. However, with Ting Qingshan's spear arts, he could instantly pull back the spear and change from offense to defense. "Good lad!" Ting Yunlong shouted. "What move is this? An entire hill will be blasted away." "Haha, Qingshan, I heard that the clansmen are running over." Ting Yongfan also laughed. When Ting Qingshan heard the clansmen shouting the furnace exploded, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At the same time, he was extremely excited. This reincarnation spear is indeed extraordinary. It can withstand my over 100,000 gene of strength and the complete explosion of inner strength. Moreover, this is far from the limit of the reincarnation spear. In the past, when he used the Damascus steel spear, Ting Qingshan could feel the internal material of the Damascus steel spear trembling, as if the wood was pressed to the limit and was about to shatter. Every time, Ting Qingshan would use his inner strength to support the Damascus steel spear. He was afraid that the Damascus steel spear would shatter and he wouldn't be able to use his full strength. This move, Toxic Dragon Drill, is indeed very powerful. If I had this reincarnation spear when I fought with the Flood Dragon, I reckon that even if the Flood Dragon won, it wouldn't have been so easy. Ting Qingshan still remembered that day when he used the Toxic Dragon Drill with the Damascus steel spear. He only managed to pierce the scales on the surface of the Flood Dragon. He couldn't even pierce the internal muscles. If he used the reincarnation spear, he should be able to pierce deeper. However, to kill a demonic beast like the Flood Dragon, Ting Qingshan still didn't have the confidence. After all, the Flood Dragon's strength, defense, and the black fog that it breathed out all made Ting Qingshan's heart palpitate. Let's go. Let's go out and tell the clansmen that this wasn't a furnace explosion." Ting Yunlong laughed and walked towards the door. Ting Qingshan and Ting Yongfan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They could only walk out together. To a true warrior, a godly weapon was like a brother or a limb. In the days since he had obtained the reincarnation spear, Ting Qingshan had been pondering how to use the spear every day. However, every time, Ting Qingshan would only use 10% of his strength to practice the spear. He was afraid that the movement would be too big and cause the clansmen to be surprised. Half a month later, in the forest west of Tingjia village, Ting Qinghu found Ting Qingshan, who was practicing his spear art. "Qingshan, my father and the people of Great Li village have discussed it. The wedding day will be on the 6th day of the 3rd month. Ting Qinghu said excitedly beside Ting Qingshan. "Haha, there is less than a month. Qingshan, when the time comes, you have to come with me. Didn't you always want to see what your sister-in-law looks like? You will know when the time comes. Look at your proud face." Ting Qingshan laughed. Marriage. I have already thought about it. I will only marry one person in my life." Ting Qinghu said happily. "Look at your silly face." Ting Qingshan understood that a person's first love would have a great impact on a person. For example, when Ting Qinghu fell in love with a woman for the first time, and now he wanted to get married for the first time. Now, he even said that he would only marry one person in the future. Ting Qinghu's mentality could be completely imagined by Ting Qingshan. "Qingshan, you are my best brother. On the 6th day of the 3rd month, you must come with me to escort the bride." Ting Qinghu said. Don't worry, I will definitely go. By the way, there will be a lot of people from the clan going, right? Ting Qingshan asked. Yes, my father, my grandfather, and some other clansmen. At least a few dozen people will go. Ting Qinghu said. The clansmen of Tingjia village lived a peaceful life. Days passed, and soon it was the 6th day of the 3rd month. According to the common people, the 6th day of the 3rd month was the best day in the next 2 to 3 months. Weddings, excursions, and other important events were all held on this day. On the morning of the 6th day of the 3rd month, the sun was already high up in the sky. The gate of Tingjia village was hung with a big red silk cloth and a big red flower. The gate of Tingjia village was open, and many people were sending off the wedding procession. Most of the people in the wedding procession walked on 2 legs. Only the chief, Ting Yunlong, and the groom, Ting Qinghu, each rode a yellow-maned horse. The yellow-maned horse was a local horse of Yangzhou. One horse only cost a few dozen taels of silver, so it was relatively cheap. However, ordinary commoners didn't use horses. Cattle were used for farming. As for entering the city, 2 horses was enough. Many villages didn't even have a single horse. Tingjia village having 2 horses was considered good. Haha Qinghu, straighten your back. Today is the 6th day of the 3rd month, and it's your wedding day. You have to let the people of Greatly village see what kind of men of our Tingjia village are. Ting Yunlong was extremely happy today because Ting Qinghu was his grandson. His grandfather was naturally happy when his grandson got married. Qinghu, be careful. Don't dirty your groom's clothes. Many of the clansmen at the side teased. Ting Qinghu only smiled. Okay, let's go, Ting Yunlong ordered. The wedding procession immediately advanced towards Greatly village. Ting Qingshan was one of the members of the wedding procession. Of course, he had to walk on 2 legs. After all, the clan only had 2 horses. With this speed, it will be noon when we arrive at Greatly village. We will eat some glutinous rice balls there. When we get back, the banquet will be just in time. In these years, Ting Qingshan had seen many people get married. As the number 1 man of the clan, he had accompanied the wedding procession more than once or twice, so he was very familiar with the process. The breeze blew and the sun shone brightly. The wedding procession smiled as it advanced towards Greatly village. Chapter 64. Greatly village's gate was also decorated with red cloths and big red flowers, looking very festive. Many people were standing at the gate looking to the west. The people from Tingjia village haven't arrived yet. Li Laosan, go home and wait. What's the rush? A few villagers laughed and teased a simple and honest middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was the father of Li Luoxiang, who was about to get married today. Luoxiang's father, go home and prepare. The people will be here soon. A woman pulled Li Laosan home. Li Laosan smiled and went home with his wife to wait. My Luoxiang is really lucky to marry into Tingjia village. Her husband is a man who can lift 2,000 jin. Li Laosan sighed as he walked. 2,000 jin. Our Greatly village doesn't have such an amazing man. Our Luoxiang will be blessed in the future. Look at how happy you are. His wife laughed. I only have 1 daughter. How can I not be happy? Li Laosan was very proud. His daughter was able to marry such a powerful man. Li Laosan had a lot of faith in Greatly village. Li Laosan, who had been honest all his life, was unknown in Greatly village. But just because his daughter was able to marry such a powerful man, all the villagers in the village looked up to him, Old Li III. At this moment, the ground slightly trembled. The sound of horse hooves. The people from Tingjia village are here. Li Laosan was overjoyed. He immediately turned around and ran towards the gate of Greatly village. Luoxiang's father, there seems to be a lot of horses. It's a bit like bandits coming to collect the annual tribute. The woman said as she ran. Nonsense. Why would they collect the annual tribute at this time? Tingjia village must have gotten a lot of horses to boost their prestige. Li Laosan said happily. However, at this moment, the mounted gangsters are here. The White Horse Gang is here. Loud shouts sounded from the front. Many villagers of Great Li Village picked up their weapons and rushed forward. Li Laosan was also somewhat dumbfounded. It really is the White Horse Gang. Li Laosan quickly reacted and followed the large group of villagers, rushing forward. On the spacious training field in front of Great Li Village, many villagers held weapons and looked at the large group of mounted gangsters in fear. Just the number of horse bandits that had rushed into the training field numbered in the hundreds, and there was still a large number of horse bandits outside the Great Li Village's gate. The Li clan leader had never seen the White Horse Gang mobilize so many people. "Young master, we've already paid the New Year's tribute. May I know what orders young master has for us?" the Li clan leader asked. Sitting on a cyan mane treading snow horse was a sturdy man with a body like an iron tower. This man was wearing cyan armor and had a helmet on his head. Even the treading snow horse he was riding was protected by the same armor. This man was the second strongest expert of the White Horse Gang, the young master Hong Jinjia. Through his helmet, the White Horse Gang's young master swept his cold gaze down. "Today, your Great Li Village seems to have a joyous occasion," the young master said in a clear voice. "Many people are waiting at the gate. Are they waiting to escort the bride?" The young master was indeed very smart. With a glance, he was able to determine whether the Great Li Village was marrying a woman into the village or marrying a woman out. The Li clan leader slightly hesitated, then said, "Young master, today is indeed the day our Great Li Village's daughter is getting married. Oh, bring her over for me to see," the young master indifferently ordered. "This doesn't match." The Li clan leader had not finished speaking. "Pa!" A long spear struck the Li clan leader's body, sending him flying. He then heavily landed on the ground and spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Beside the young master, a mounted gangster, who was also covered in armor and holding a spear, coldly shouted through his helmet, "Old man, the young master told you to bring the bride out. Bring her out. If you say another word of no, I will kill you on the spot." The clansmen of the Great Li Village were stunned. Within the White Horse Gang, there were also elites and ordinary mounted gangsters. Around the young master, there was a group of mounted bandits covered in armor. They were clearly the elite. "Li Laosan, bring your daughter here." The Li clan leader clenched his teeth and shouted. Li Laosan's entire body trembled. "The young master wants to see your daughter. That is your daughter's good fortune. Quickly go," the Li clan leader shouted. He also felt that something was wrong, because the White Horse Gang had never sent out such elite troops when they came out to collect the annual tribute. These horse bandits around the young master were all wearing armor, along with their horses. Just the armor alone would probably cost a lot of silver. Li Laosan quickly ran home and brought his daughter, who was about to be married, to the training field. Li Luoxiang, who was wearing a red wedding dress, still had a face full of fear. This is the daughter who is going to be married to Tingjia village today," the Li clan leader said. The young master, Hong Jinjia, looked down and examined the bride below. Li Luoxiang, on the other hand, had her head lowered and didn't dare to raise it. The young master coldly shouted, "Raise your head." Li Luoxiang's entire body trembled. She didn't dare to disobey, and raised her head to look at the young master on the war horse. "She looks pretty good." The young master smiled as he examined her, then said to the mounted bandit beside him, "This little girl looks pretty good. Brothers, we're going to destroy the Iron Mountain Gang today, so we'll take this bride with us as a reward. Come, take this bride away." Immediately, the mounted gangsters jumped off their horses and rushed towards Li Luoxiang. "Sirs, you can't." Li Laosan hastily stood in front of Li Luoxiang and immediately knelt down. Li Luoxiang's face was also deathly pale. She originally dreamed of marrying a good man. She even looked forward to giving birth to 2 or 3 children for her man and living a good life. Who would have thought that on the day of her wedding, she would encounter such a thing. Get lost. One of the 3 mounted gangsters who rushed down kicked Li Laosan and grabbed Li Luoxiang. No, no, my man is Ting Qinghu of Tingjia village. You can't catch me. Li Luoxiang seemed to have gone crazy as she suddenly let out a mournful scream. Li Luoxiang understood very well that if she was caught and brought to this nest of mounted gangsters, what awaited her would be even more terrifying than entering hell. The Li clan chief also hastily said, "Young master, Luoxiang's daughter is married to Ting Qinghu of Tingjia village. The people of Tingjia village will arrive soon. Don't even mention Ting Qinghu's wife. Even if she is the wife of the #1 hero of Tingjia village, Ting Qingshan, I will still take her away today." The young master, Hong Jinjie, disdainfully glanced around and casually pointed 3 times. This one, and that woman, take them all away. After we destroy the Iron Mountain gang, we must let our brothers have some fun. Okay. Many mounted gangsters excitedly jumped off their horses and went to catch the 3 women. This Hong Jinjie might have a special liking for young women. These 3 women looked to be around 14 or 15 years old, and had just reached adulthood. "Let go of my daughter!" A large man roared in grief and indignation. He rushed over with a huge axe in his hand and directly chopped towards a mounted gangster. A mounted gangster covered in armor from head to toe on a war horse thrust his long spear forward like a phantom. Poochie! The long spear penetrated the chest of the large man. The large man's eyes widened like copper bells, but the mounted gangster on the war horse coldly pulled out the spear, causing blood to spurt out. "Great master! Great master!" Many young men of Great Li village immediately cried out in pain. The young master, Hong Jinjie, who was sitting high on his horse, coldly said, "Today is the 6th of March, a great day. It is also the day my White Horse gang destroys the Iron Mountain gang. Your Great Li village better be tactful. Otherwise, I don't mind slaughtering your Great Li village before destroying the Iron Mountain gang." The men of Great Li village trembled with anger, but none of them dared to make a sound. Just now, the armored mounted gangster unexpectedly killed their clan's great master in a single move. This time, the White Horse gang dispatched absolute elites to destroy the Iron Mountain gang. Destroying their Great Li village absolutely wouldn't take long. "Brothers, let's go!" Hong Jinjie loudly shouted. Immediately, the mounted gangsters on war horses left one by one. The women who were captured screamed mournfully. But no matter how much they screamed, the Great Li village clansmen didn't dare to make the slightest movement to resist. On the ground, the corpse of the great master, whose blood had not yet cooled, was dazzling to the eyes. "Chief!" Many of the clan's men shed tears as they looked towards their chief. The Li clan chief raised his head to look at the sky as tears flowed down his face. "This White Horse gang is our local tyrant. If we resist, we will die." Surviving in this chaotic world, the commoners had their own way of dealing with things. Facing the White Horse gang, these villagers didn't dare to resist unless it was a moment of life and death. The Great Li village clansmen carried away the corpse of their great master and comforted the clansmen who had lost their daughters. In the blink of an eye, this joyous occasion turned into a funeral. There was no other way. Facing the local tyrant of E City, the tyrant that controlled their lives, the White Horse gang, they could only endure bullying. Snatching women had already happened more than once. Not long after. Chief, the Tingjia village's wedding procession has arrived." The clansmen at the entrance of Great Li village saw the wedding procession of dozens of people from afar, as well as the red-clothed groom sitting high on a large horse. They hurriedly reported to the Li clan chief, who was on the training field. The Li clan chief's complexion changed as he smiled bitterly. "How can our Great Li village explain to the Tingjia village?" He immediately clenched his teeth and looked at the surrounding clansmen. "Even if we don't have the face, we still have to go. Come, accompany me to receive them." Chapter 65. It's right in front. Chinghu, you're about to see your bride, haha. The Ting clan members joked. Ting Chinghu, who was usually very talkative, blushed today and only smiled happily. Greatly Village's gate was right in front of them. Ting Qingshan, who was originally in a good mood, discovered that the ground was covered with horse hoof prints. So many horse hoof prints? Only bandits could have so many horses. Could it be that Greatly Village was attacked by bandits? Ting Qingshan carefully looked at Greatly Village. He didn't see any bloodstains. They're probably just passing by. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. At this moment, the Li clan chief brought many clansmen to the gate to welcome them. This group of people didn't look good, but the Li clan chief could only squeeze out a smile. The group of Tingjia village people clearly felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. Normally, when the bride was being escorted, the other party would beat drums and gongs, and the women would run out to watch the fun. However, Greatly Village's gate was very deserted, and only a few people came out to welcome them. There were also no gongs and gongs. Li clan chief, what's going on? Ting Yunlong got off his horse and asked with a frown. They came to escort the bride, but the other party didn't beat drums and gongs, and they didn't have a good expression. Ting Yunlong was obviously unhappy. However, Ting Yunlong also felt that there should be a reason. Otherwise, Ting Yunlong would have been angry. In-laws. A figure suddenly rushed out from behind the crowd and rushed to Ting Yunlong's side. He immediately knelt down and mournfully yelled, "My family's Luoxiang was kidnapped by the White Horse Gang? You have to save my daughter, save her." The originally doubtful Ting Qinghu's face instantly turned pale. Li clan chief, what's going on? Ting Yunlong shouted with an ugly expression. The Li clan chief smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Ting, my Li Jia village is sorry. I didn't expect that today was the day the White Horse Gang went to destroy the Iron Mountain Gang. When the White Horse Gang passed by our village, the young master and his group captured a few of our clan's young ladies, including Luoxiang. Even our clan's great master was killed. We can't do anything about it. We can only helplessly watch the White Horse Gang take away our clan's girls." Ting Yunlong's face darkened. "These bastards!" Ting Qinghu, who was on the horse, roared and jumped off the horse. "What are you doing?" Ting Yunlong stretched out his hand and grabbed Ting Qinghu as he glared at his grandson. Ting Qinghu was so angry that his entire body trembled. The first girl he loved in his life had been kidnapped by the White Horse Gang's bandit. How could Ting Qinghu not be angry? Patriarchally. Ting Yunlong patted Chief Li's shoulder and sighed, "Our Tingjia village is not unreasonable. This is not your fault." Sigh. When faced with such a situation, there was no other way but to endure it. The 6th of March was a good day. He didn't expect that the White Horse Gang would also choose this day to exterminate the Iron Mountain Gang. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have chosen this day. Everyone also understood. The reason the White Horse Gang chose this day for the decisive battle was because this day was a good day. And because Ting Qinghu chose this day to get married, it also led to Li Luoxiang being kidnapped. It had to be said that this was fate. Bitter fate. Patriarchally. Ting Qinghu stared at the Li clan leader. "How long has it been since the White Horse Gang left?" "Nearly an hour." The Li clan leader replied. "Qinghu, follow me back." Ting Yunlong shouted. Ting Qinghu stood in the same place, clenching his fists and gritting his teeth. "In-laws, only you can save my family's Luoxiang." Li Laosan's voice was filled with tears. He knelt on the ground and anxiously kowtowed. The Li clan leader's face darkened as he hastily shouted, "Drag the third brother back. Right now, he has lost his mind." The clansmen hastily grabbed Li Laosan and dragged him into the village. "Save my family's Luoxiang, I beg you." Li Laosan's face was covered in dust and he continuously kowtowed until his head was broken. Ting Qinghu watched helplessly as Li Laosan, who was originally going to become his father-in-law, was dragged into the village by the Li clan clansmen. "Qinghu, go back." Ting Yunlong shouted angrily. Ting Qinghu unwillingly looked at the direction of the horse's hoof prints. In the end, he gritted his teeth, turned around and jumped on his horse, following his clansmen towards the direction of the Tingjia village. On the way back, Ting Yunlong slowly said, "Qinghu, you are not young anymore. You know what is important. What do bandits do?" That was what they were doing. The White Horse Gang is guarding our E-city. They have already calculated the amount of money they collect. They only occasionally kidnap a few women. Our days in the village are much better than when I was young. You should know that your second aunt was kidnapped by bandits. Go and ask how many girls in your father's generation have been abducted. After all, those bandits also want children. Ting Yunlong sighed. Every year, they kidnap women from other villages. That is the norm. Ting Qinghu didn't say anything. Ting Qingshan, who was listening while walking, felt a trace of heaviness in his heart. Survival was indeed a very difficult thing. These years, our Tingjia village's reputation has also increased. Those bandit gangs usually go to the weaker villages to kidnap women. They are also worried that the people of Tingjia village will go crazy and fight with them. Ting Yunlong sighed. Our days 20 years ago were similar to the Great Li village. It was very difficult. Grandfather. Ting Qinghu opened his mouth. Ting Qingshan felt very uncomfortable. He understood that in this world, bandits could not be eliminated. Even if he, Ting Qingshan, could eliminate the White Horse Gang, another gang would immediately dominate E-city. Perhaps that gang would be even more greedy than the White Horse Gang. To prevent my Tingjia village from being bullied, relying on my own strength is definitely not enough. Ting Qingshan was very clear about this point. There is only one way to join the Gui Yuan sect and be able to hold a high position in the Gui Yuan sect. At that time, I just need to casually instruct the White Horse Gang, and the White Horse Gang will not dare to provoke my Tingjia village anymore. Ting Qingshan's desire to join the Gui Yuan sect became stronger. After all, in Jiangning County, the Gui Yuan sect was the heavens. If the Gui Yuan sect wanted to eliminate the White Horse Gang, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. The group of Ting family members who were walking had a heavy atmosphere. Qinghu. Ting Qingshan suddenly opened his mouth. Many people looked at Ting Qingshan, and Ting Qingshan opened his mouth and said, "Qinghu, follow me." Ting Qinghu suddenly turned his head to look at Ting Qingshan, and his eyes lit up. "Qingshan, what are you doing?" Ting Yunlong was shocked. "Are you also confused?" In Ting Yunlong's heart, Ting Qingshan had always been very intelligent since he was young. Moreover, Ting Qingshan's actions never made him worry. He was very steady. Moreover, Ting Qingshan's peerless martial prowess made the clansmen regard Ting Qingshan as the spiritual leader of the clan. For example, when the Iron Mountain Gang attacked Tingjia village, the one who spoke up was Ting Qingshan. "Grandfather, don't worry. I won't cause any trouble," Ting Qingshan said confidently. Seeing Ting Qingshan's expression, Ting Yunlong felt slightly at ease. He said, "Although Qinghu is older than you, his way of doing things is more reckless than you. Experiencing this matter will be beneficial to him in the future. As a person, you can't be reckless and do things on impulse. Don't make us worry." "I understand," Ting Qingshan said. "Grandfather, don't worry. There won't be any problems." At this time, Ting Qinghu had already jumped off his horse and followed beside Ting Qingshan. "Qingshan, grandfather, take the clansmen back first. Qinghu and I will quickly return," Ting Qingshan said. "Qingshan, I won't stop you, but I want to say one thing. No matter what decision you make, you must remember that there are more than 2,000 clansmen of the Ting family behind you." Ting Yunlong said, "Yes." Ting Qingshan nodded his head solemnly. "Qinghu, let's go." Ting Qingshan carried the reincarnation spear and brought Ting Qinghu to the Iron Mountain Gang. The White Horse Gang's base was at the White Horse Lake in E-City. The White Horse Lake had a circumference of 10 li and was a famous lake in the entire Jiangning County. There was also a small island in the middle of the lake. The White Horse Gang's base was on this island. Being in the middle of the lake, it was easy to defend and hard to attack. This was one of the reasons why the White Horse Gang was able to stand tall for so many years. The Iron Mountain Gang's base was on the southern side of the Great Yen Mountain. If one wanted to rush to the Iron Mountain Gang from the White Horse Lake, they would need to go around the entire Great Yen Mountain. Although the northern and southern border of E-City was about 200 li, the road was not straight. Instead, they had to go around the entire Great Yen Mountain. Therefore, the distance between the White Horse Lake and the Iron Mountain Gang was 300 li. The men of the White Horse Gang set off in the morning. The bustling men and horses would probably only reach the Iron Mountain Gang in the evening. The men of the White Horse Gang probably didn't stop to rest at noon. They ate some dry rations on the horses. Ting Qingshan looked at the traces on the road and judged. At the same time, he and Ting Qinghu relied on their 2 legs and ran along the road. If Ting Qingshan was alone, his running speed would be much faster than a war horse. However, Ting Qinghu's speed was slow. Although Ting Qinghu could lift 2,000 jin, his internal organs were not strong enough. At most, he could catch up with a modern marathon runner. The distance from the Great Li village to the Iron Mountain Gang was more than 100 li. Ting Qinghu was almost exhausted from running. He estimated that it would take him more than 4 hours to reach the Iron Mountain Gang. Qingshan, will Luoxiang be all right? Ting Qinghu panted and was somewhat worried. It's hard to say. Ting Qingshan didn't dare to guarantee anything. This was because the army would normally have military prostitute. The bandits were even more chaotic. Kidnapping some women to vent his anger was a very normal thing to do. It was impossible to expect bandits and horse gangs to be more disciplined than the army. After rushing for 4 hours, the sun was about to set. Look, there are horse gangs in front. Ting Qingshan pointed to the front. In the distance, the spacious wasteland was filled with densely packed horse gangs. A large number of horse gangs were resting. Among them, a portion of the horse gangs had already begun to mount their horses and were about to continue their journey. Are they about to leave? Ting Qinghu said. This place is only half an hour away from the Iron Mountain Gang's base. Ting Qingshan frowned and said, I estimate that the men of the White Horse Gang will immediately rest and eat after arriving here. After eating and resting enough, they will set off and destroy the Iron Mountain Gang in one go. Chapter 66. Brothers, let's drink a mouthful. In a moment, we will destroy the Iron Mountain Gang in one go. A few mounted gangsters were passing around wine gourds. Each person drank a mouthful, and each of the mounted gangsters had an ominous glint in their eyes. They all knew that they were the attacking side, and the Iron Mountain Gang was the defending side. To destroy the Iron Mountain Gang, which had 3,000 core disciples, the White Horse Gang would also lose many people. It was very likely that this would be the last time they drank wine in their lives. Pah! The wine gourd was ruthlessly thrown into the air. A mounted gangster holding a machete jumped onto a horse and shouted, Brothers, let's go! After we win, we will come back and continue drinking. Continue drinking. These valiant mounted gangsters also mounted their horses one by one. This scene played out in many places on this wasteland. No matter who it was, they all knew that in this battle, many people would die. This was the way of the world. Don't look at how bandits and bandits swagger in front of ordinary civilians and feel happy. However, if they wanted to be the #1 gang in E-City, they had to step on all other gangs. They had to bleed a lot of their brothers. Drinking wine, eating meat, money, and women. These happy days were piled up with an endless amount of blood. Among the densely packed mounted gangsters, there was a group of mounted gangsters covered in armor. Even their horses were covered in armor. This group of mounted gangsters surrounded the young master, Hong Jinjie. On the ground, there were many motionless women lying on the ground. Brothers. Hong Jinjia looked around with a cold gaze. The 3 Wang brothers are valiant, but we, the brothers of the White Horse Battalion, are all good men. Everyone understands that tonight, of the 200 brothers of the White Horse Battalion, some will fall at the hands of the Iron Mountain Gang. However, I, Hong Jinjia, have said that as long as I have food, the women and children of the White Horse Battalion's dead brothers will have food. Young master, the 3 Wang brothers are said to be powerful, but our brothers charged and pierced them into a beehive. What's there to be afraid of? An 8-chi tall brawny man roared. Young master, the brothers have drunk wine and done the women. Now let's go slaughter the bastards of the Iron Mountain Gang. Even if I die there, this life is enough. The ferocious bandits in armor glowed fiercely. To be able to enter the White Horse Gang's most elite White Horse Battalion, which one of them wasn't extremely fierce? Good. Hong Jinjia suddenly jumped on the horse, his face ferocious, and howled, "Brothers, get on the horse!" The 200 elite warriors of the White Horse Battalion simultaneously leapt onto their horses. The other mounted gangsters around them couldn't help but step aside. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu saw many mounted gangsters drinking and yelling from afar. From time to time, howls could be heard. Obviously, these bandits were shouting and drinking to boost their courage. Qingshan, won't the Iron Mountain Gang's men notice them? Ting Qinghu suddenly asked. Ting Qingshan observed the large number of bandits in the distance. Of course. E City was only so big. The Iron Mountain Gang must have already received the news that these several thousand mounted gangsters were moving majestically. However, the Iron Mountain Gang didn't have many men and horses, so they would rather rely on the sturdy defense of their stronghold. They also wouldn't take the initiative to attack. The White Horse Gang also knows this point. Ting Qinghu nodded his head. Cousin, out of the 8,000 core disciples of the White Horse Gang, there are at least 6,000 to 7,000 of them. And the Iron Mountain Gang has a sturdy stronghold to rely on. This battle will probably be very tragic. Ting Qingshan said in a low voice. Qingshan. Luo, will Luoxiang die? Ting Qinghu said in a low voice. I don't know, Ting Qingshan said. In fact, Ting Qingshan understood that the probability of Li Luoxiang dying was more than 90%. These bandits were venting before the decisive battle. In order to not let these unlucky women become a burden, it was very likely that after venting, they would directly kill them, leaving their corpses in the wilderness. The mounted gangsters on the wasteland in front of them continuously mounted their horses and set off. The number of mounted gangsters on the wasteland was decreasing. After a moment, they're all gone. Ting Qinghu was the first to stand up from the weeds and directly ran over. Ting Qingshan also carried his reincarnation spear and followed. The wasteland was a mess. Broken wine jars and wine gourds were scattered all over the ground. Ting Qingshan's gaze suddenly focused as he looked in front of him. Corpses. There were many corpses in the distance, and Ting Qinghu was like a madman flipping through the corpses one by one. Ting Qingshan hastily ran over. They're all women. The ditch beside the wasteland was filled with corpses. They were all young women with tattered clothes, and some were even completely naked. With just a glance, there were probably dozens of corpses. They're all pitiful people who have been defiled. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath. Luoxiang, Luoxiang. Ting Qinghu suddenly burst into tears. He hugged a woman with tattered undergarments and cried until he lost his voice. This was the first woman that Ting Qinghu had fallen in love with in his entire life. Ting Qingshan silently stood behind him. Ting Qingshan didn't know what to feel in his heart. He only felt a wave of sourness. Chi. Ting Qinghu grabbed a broken piece of a wine jar beside him and frantically dug the soil on the ground. Soil flew everywhere. Not long after, a large pit was dug. Ting Qinghu solemnly carried the pitiful girl named Luoxiang's corpse and placed it in the deep pit. Then, he pushed the soil and buried it. Since he didn't have the conditions to cremate her, he would just make a grave for her. Kneeling in front of the grave, Ting Qinghu's tears flowed down. "Cousin," Ting Qingshan spoke. "Qingshan, let me cry to my heart's content. I can't take revenge for Luoxiang, but can't I just cry?" Running all the way here, Ting Qinghu only hoped that his lover could be alive, but the result was cruel. In fact, in this chaotic world, Ting Qinghu had heard of this kind of thing before. However, when it happened to him, he felt a heart-piercing pain. "Who said you can't take revenge? Follow me to the Iron Mountain gang," Ting Qingshan said. Ting Qinghu suddenly raised his head. His eyes widened as he looked at Ting Qingshan and exclaimed, "Qingshan, you still not leaving?" Ting Qingshan shouted. Ting Qinghu hastily stood up and grabbed Ting Qingshan. He impatiently said, "Qingshan, in my heart, I can't wait to cut the White Horse Gang's young master into 1,000 pieces. However, Qingshan, don't rashly kill the young master just because of this. Those bandits came to my Tingjia village to collect the annual tribute. There are many who know you, Ting Qingshan. If you kill the young master, you will definitely be recognized. At that time, the White Horse Gang will raze my Tingjia village to the ground. You should know the blood of bandits. Even if you die, you will definitely take revenge for their young master." Looking at the current Ting Qinghu, Ting Qingshan secretly sighed. His cousin really knew how to endure. In this chaotic world, if you don't know how to endure, you simply won't be able to survive. As for the blood of bandits, Ting Qingshan also understood. In this chaotic world, many bandits were not afraid of death. Their heads would be as big as a bowl. This was what many bandits said. Even if Ting Qingshan displayed his peerless martial strength and killed the Great Master, the Second Master, the Third Master, and the Young Master by himself. However, if the surviving members of the White Horse Gang wanted to be the new Great Master, the first thing they would do was to kill Ting Qingshan and destroy Tingjia village to take revenge for their old master. Only then would they be qualified to be the new Great Master. This was the rule. At that time, all kinds of despicable methods would be endless. Ting Qingshan was not afraid, but what about the people of Tingjia village? Am I that kind of reckless person? Ting Qingshan asked. Ting Qinghu was startled. Yes, Ting Qingshan did not seem to have made any mistakes in Tingjia village. He did things very steadily. Qingshan, what do you mean? Ting Qinghu inquired. Don't worry, I will not let Tingjia village fall into danger. You will know. Ting Qingshan turned around and said, Let's go. We will go through the mountains and directly rush to the Iron Mountain Gang. Okay. Although Ting Qinghu was puzzled, he still followed. The Iron Mountain Gang was built on the mountain and was heavily guarded. From the day they built the stronghold, it was prepared to defend against the White Horse Gang's attack. According to reason, if they attacked the Iron Mountain Gang's stronghold, many people from the White Horse Gang would die. However, the stronghold's gate had already been attacked. Kill those little bastards. Brothers, charge. Roars and roars sounded everywhere in the Iron Mountain Gang's lair. At this time, everyone's eyes were red. White knives entered and red knives came out. The Iron Mountain Gang and the White Horse Gang members died in large numbers. Halfway up the mountain, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu looked down at this scene. The Iron Mountain Gang's gate had already been broken. Killing was happening everywhere in the Iron Mountain Gang's stronghold. This kind of close combat was the most tragic. Some people were riding horses and charging, while others hid in the houses of the stronghold and shot arrows. It was completely exchanging lives for lives. Blood and corpses could be seen everywhere on the walls and on the ground of the stronghold. Ting Qinghu's face couldn't help but turn pale. Even Ting Qingshan sucked in a breath of cold air. In the society of his previous life, how could it be possible to see tens of thousands of people crazily killing each other? The bandits and bandits below all had red eyes. As long as it wasn't their family, they would kill. Human life is as cheap as grass. Ting Qingshan felt this way from the bottom of his heart. Don't look at those bandits who captured women and robbed money. But now, they were losing their lives one by one. In this chaotic world, no matter who it was, if they wanted to obtain something, they had to pay a price. To obtain a happy life, they had to pay the price of licking blood from the edge of a knife every day. If they wanted their clansmen to live a good life, the men of the clan must have enough martial strength. Qinghu, wait here. As Ting Qingshan spoke, the muscles and bones in his body emitted a trembling sound. His entire body strangely became shorter, but his arms and legs were obviously thicker. I'm going down for a while. Help me hold my reincarnation spear. Ting Qinghu looked at this scene in shock. Qingshan, when you practice the tiger fist to the extreme, one day, you will also be able to do it. Ting Qingshan said confidently. When ordinary people trained their muscles, they would swell up when their muscles hardened. However, ordinary people couldn't control their muscles and bones. When the internal martial art was practiced to the Grandmaster realm, one could control every bone in the body. Many people knew that there was a gap between bones. Some people practiced yoga and could increase their height by a few centimeters in a short period of time. It was also the same principle, and when Ting Qingshan trained his body to the extreme, he could completely make himself shorter or taller. As for appearance, the face was fixed by the bones, so it was difficult to change. However, appearance was a small matter. Because when a person's face was cold or when he smiled, his appearance would change greatly. If he smeared some dirt and blood on his face, who would be able to recognize him in a chaotic battle? Ting Qingshan pulled the rope that bound his hair, and his hair fell loose. At the same time, he smeared some dirt on his face, and his loose hair covered his face. Qinghu, do you recognize me? Ting Qingshan laughed. Ting Qinghu was still in shock. In the past, he was a tall and handsome young man. Now, he was half a head shorter than before, and his entire body was thicker. Even Ting Qingshan's figure was slightly hunched, and his entire temperament seemed to have changed. Even when Ting Qinghu saw the person in front of him, he couldn't believe that this was the handsome Ting Qingshan from before. As an assassin in his previous life, this kind of simple disguise was nothing. As for temperament disguise, many TV actors could do it. It wasn't impossible for a young girl to disguise as an old auntie. Qinghu, just wait for me here. After saying this, Ting Qingshan rushed down the mountain. Be careful, Ting Qinghu hastily said. At the same time, he thought to himself, he can change his height and body shape. Even I don't dare to recognize him as Qingshan. Those bandits who came to my Tingjia village and are not familiar with Qingshan will not recognize him. Actually, even if there were vicious bandits who suspected him, they would probably not suspect him after comparing his height. Chapter 67. Ting Qingshan rushed down the mountain. Qinghu, don't blame me, Ting Qingshan silently said in his heart. In the White Horse Gang's army of thousands, Ting Qingshan could rush back and forth and kill. However, he alone attacked the White Horse Gang's army of thousands. The White Horse Gang's men could easily guess his identity. Moreover, in the army of thousands, Ting Qingshan could not protect Li Luoxiang. She could still die. Ting Qingshan was very clear about this. Moreover, the White Horse Gang's men would definitely guess that Li Luoxiang was just an ordinary girl. Which expert would risk his life to save her? It was impossible for Great Li Village, so it could only be the legendary #1 expert of Tingjia Village, Ting Qingshan. In addition, in the army of thousands, many people were staring at Ting Qingshan. Many bandits had been to Tingjia Village and seen Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's appearance did not change much, so it was easy to recognize him. At that time, a disaster would befall Tingjia Village. For a woman he had never seen before, the entire Tingjia Village would be in danger. Ting Qingshan would not do it. Even if he did, he would not be able to save her. In fact, the most important point was, he did not know Li Luoxiang at all. Even if he went, he would not know which of the captured women was Li Luoxiang. In fact, in terms of suffering, the other dead women were equally unfortunate. Should Ting Qingshan save every unfortunate person? In this world, there were many women who had been kidnapped by bandits. Ting Qingshan's vanity was not inflated to the point of wanting to save all the suffering people in the world. After all, this was decided by the world and could not be changed by human beings. In this chaotic world, I can only work hard to protect my clansmen, Ting Qingshan silently said. The Iron Mountain Gang and White Horse Gang's bandits were fighting each other crazily. White cloth was tied around the arms of all the White Horse Gang members. Red cloth was tied around the arms of all the Iron Mountain Gang members. After all, in this chaotic war, it was impossible to distinguish who was right and who was wrong. He could only see what kind of cloth it was tied with. In the eyes of the Iron Mountain Gang, anyone with a white cloth would be killed without exception. Those who weren't tied with cloth strips were killed as well. Just kill, kill, kill! Whoosh! Ting Qingshan rushed into the Iron Mountain Gang's stronghold, untied the red cloth on the arm of a dead Iron Mountain Gang member, and tied it on his own arm. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked at the chaotic battle in front of him. Tens of thousands of people are fighting, it's a mess. In this kind of chaos, if I quietly killed Master Hong Si and that young master, who will know? The killing intent that had been suppressed for a long time finally surged. He's a traitor. A loud shout came from behind. An Iron Mountain Gang bandit with a machete in his hand had seen Ting Qingshan disguise himself as one of his brothers. Ting Qingshan glanced back and his eyes turned cold. His figure swayed. Pooh! Ting Qingshan's right hand moved like lightning and slashed across the bandit's throat. More than half of the bandit's throat was severed. Hee! Fresh blood flowed out. The bandit's eyes widened and he fell down with a loud bang. Ting Qingshan took the machete from the bandit's hand. After all, there weren't many experts in Yi City who used the long spear. That would expose his identity. Therefore, Ting Qingshan didn't bring his reincarnation spear. Holding the machete, Ting Qingshan quickly advanced and approached the area where the battle was the most intense. On the treading on snow horse, a silver-haired elder wearing full armor looked into the distance and smiled. No matter how careful the three Wang brothers are, they still fell for my trick. Haha, teacher. Beside him, there was a tall man wearing armor riding on a scarlet flame horse. He laughed and said, "In Yi City, teacher, you have been managing the Iron Mountain Gang for dozens of years. The Iron Mountain Gang expanded crazily, and we planted some spies. No matter how careful they are, they still fell for our trick. No matter how careful they are, with the help of the spies, it will be much easier to break the stronghold's gate." Zhenjie. The silver-haired elder opened his mouth and said, "Father." The towering man riding on the treading on snow horse responded, "The three Wang brothers are unhindered in the world, and their methods are cruel. You have too little experience fighting against experts. Today, you will oversee the rear army and prevent anyone from escaping without a fight. Wang He, you will replace your junior martial brother and lead the White Horse Battalion. When the time comes, you will assist me and kill the three Wang brothers." Master Hong Si calmly instructed. "Yes, teacher." The man riding the scarlet flame horse hastily responded. "Father, you be careful too." Hong Zhenjie was slightly worried. "Don't worry. Your father, I, have painstakingly studied the cold moon saber art for dozens of years at the White Horse Lake. My saber art has advanced to the next level. If I don't advance rashly, the three Wang brothers won't be able to defeat me. Wang He, your men of the White Horse Battalion will disregard everything and follow me to kill the three Wang brothers. When the time comes, the Iron Mountain Gang will collapse." Ting Qingshan hid in a loft in the mountain's stronghold and looked into the distance. "I will disguise myself as a member of the Iron Mountain Gang." Once I rush into the White Horse Gang's camp, I will only be met with endless killing. This is really troublesome. The machete in Ting Qingshan's right hand was full of blood. Along the way, he had already killed dozens of men of the White Horse Gang. Afterwards, he hid in this loft. Occasionally, men of the White Horse Gang would rush in, and Ting Qingshan would deliver a blow. The most important thing now is to find Master Hong Si and his son. However, I have never seen these two people before. Ting Qingshan slightly frowned. Master Hong Si, the great master of the White Horse Gang in E-City, was a legendary figure. There were very few people who had seen him before. As for his son, Hong Jinjie, many people only knew that the White Horse Gang had a young master who led the most elite, White Horse Battalion of the White Horse Gang. As for the name of the young master, many people didn't know. Not to mention his appearance. When the White Horse Gang came out to collect the annual tribute, it was their subordinates who came out. Occasionally, the second master and third master would also come out. After all, in the White Horse Gang, the highest position was the Great Master, followed by the Young Master. Then, it would be the second master and third master. Right now, keep an eye on the three Wang brothers. When the time comes, that Master Hong Si will definitely come out. Master Hong Si should be very old, and his saber art should be extremely strong. From these 2 points, we can determine who is Master Hong Si. As for the young master, since he dares to be called the second expert of the White Horse Gang, his saber art should also be very powerful. Ting Qingshan attentively stared at the three Wang brothers in the distance. Haha, old Hong. You only know how to play tricks. If you have the ability, why don't you fight with us three brothers for a few rounds? A bald, brawny man, like a demon god, wielded a pair of red copper hammers and crazily waved them. The White Horse Gang bandits in front of him either had their heads smashed or their bodies smashed. Among the three Wang brothers, the eldest, Wang Taizhan, wielded a machete that no one could block. The second eldest, Wang Taifeng, wielded a pair of red copper hammers that could kill with each strike. The third eldest, Wang Taihai, wielded a fine iron spear that was like a flood dragon. These three brothers led the elite troops of the Iron Mountain Gang to kill their way through. They were like a hot knife cutting through butter, destroying everything in their path. A large number of bandits from the White Horse Gang were killed. For a moment, the morale of the Iron Mountain Gang was greatly boosted. Haha, third brother, don't shout. This old Hong has been hiding in the White Horse Lake for dozens of years. He has long lost his courage. The bald, brawny man wielding the machete laughed as he spoke. The machete danced down, and a White Horse Gang mounted bandit who was charging in front of him was directly split into two halves along with his horse. The White Horse Gang bandits were scared out of their wit. The three brothers of the Wang clan were all burly and bald, and their appearances were extremely similar. Wang clan's three children. Aren't you looking for me? A clear and bright voice resounded between heaven and earth. Almost everyone on the battlefield heard it. A silver-haired old man wearing a full body armor and a helmet held a long saber that reflected a cold light. He stepped on the heads of many bandits and directly flew over from above. Immediately, the bandits of the White Horse Gang cheered. What a strong inner strength! The three Wang brothers' faces slightly changed. Inside the pavilion, Ting Qingshan's eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at the old man who was using Qing Gong and shouted, "Master Hong Si!" Master Hong Si held a long saber in his hand. His figure was like a phantom as he continuously hit the heads of more than 10 people and flew over a distance of 100 zhang. Ha ha, die! An arrogant laughter resounded. The cold moon saber in Master Hong Si's hand instantly turned into more than 10 saber shadows that simultaneously enveloped the three Wang brothers. The three Wang brothers were shocked and each held their own weapons to block the saber shadows. The eldest brother, Wang Taizhan, was the strongest. The second brother, Wang Taifeng, had 2 red copper hammers that covered a large area of protection, so he wasn't injured. Only the third brother, Wang Taihai, had a large saber wound on his chest. In just one exchange of blows, Master Hong Si had injured one of them. The three of you, don't even think about living. Master Hong Si landed on the ground and held his saber. His eyes contained a hint of arrogance. Expert. In the pavilion, Ting Qingshan's face slightly changed. This Master Hong Si can actually use his saber 18 times in an instant. How can he be so fast? Every saber is real and not a phantom. Ting Qingshan was very clear that even with the strength of his muscles, he could only use 8 or 9 saber shadows in an instant. His speed couldn't be compared to Master Hong Si. But Master Hong Si's body definitely couldn't be compared to his. Is this the power of a saber secret manual? Ting Qingshan thought to himself. In the land of the 9 prefectures, countless experts had passed down generation after generation. Thus, the secret manuals that were born were also very extraordinary. The secret manual, Crossing Worlds, that Ting Qingshan cultivated relied on inner strength to perform body movement. It was much faster than the extreme speed that Ting Qingshan relied on his body. There were secret manuals for Qinggong, but there were also secret manuals for saber, sword, and spear arts. These secret manuals definitely couldn't be underestimated. His saber art is indeed not bad. However, my spear art is derived from the 1,000-year essence of the internal martial arts 5-element fist. It can easily block and kill him. After all, Ting Qingshan was proficient in spear arts. Then, they are all riding cyan-bristled horses? They are all wearing armor. It's the legendary White Horse Battalion. Master Hong Si's saber art was swift and fierce, but the 3 Wang brothers worked together and didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Especially the eldest Wang Tieshan's saber, which even left a saber wound on Master Hong Si's body. Dong! Dong! The earth trembled. Not good. The 3 Wang brothers' faces changed greatly. They saw the White Horse Gang's men and horses open up a path, and an elite cavalry with both men and horses wearing armor rushed over. The leading cavalryman held a saber similar to Master Hong Si's, and his saber art was equally swift and fierce. When this elite cavalry troop rushed over, no one could stop them. The protection of the armor was very tight, especially when they rushed over. The Iron Mountain Gang's bandits were easily knocked away, and a large number of bandits were killed. These bandits wanted to kill them, but they couldn't pierce through the opponent's armor. This elite cavalry troop of 200 people was like a flood of steel, rushing towards the 3 Wang brothers. In the attic, although the horses' armor was very tight, the color of their fur could still be seen. This troop of men and horses are all wearing armor. The horses are also cyan mane horses. It must be the White Horse Battalion. The leader of the White Horse Battalion is riding a scarlet flame horse. He is the leader of the White Horse Battalion, and his saber art is the same as Master Hong Si. He should be the young master of the White Horse Gang. Ting Qingshan's eyes turned cold, and he picked up a stone in his hand. The White Horse Battalion was an absolute elite troop. When they rushed over, it was too terrifying. They weren't afraid of arrows, nor were they afraid of the opponent's slashes. The heavy armor could easily protect them. They only cared about rushing. Second brother, third brother, hide. Wang Tieshan's face changed greatly, and he hastily shouted. Facing such a flood of steel, the 3 Wang brothers, who were made of flesh, could only choose to hide. The troops of the White Horse Battalion rushed over like a gust of wind, and a large number of spears stabbed towards the 3 Wang brothers. Protecting one's life in the midst of thousands of soldiers and horses was very, very difficult. At least, the 3 Wang brothers couldn't do it. Pucci, the originally injured third brother, Wang Taihai, couldn't escape. His body was continuously pierced by several spears, and his whole body was pierced into a sieve. Then, he was sent flying. Third brother. The faces of the fleeing Wang Taizhan and Wang Taifeng changed greatly. Haha, you can't escape. A loud laughter came from the mouth of the leader of the White Horse Battalion. Riding on the Scarlet Flame Horse, he led his subordinates and madly rushed towards Wang Taizhan and Wang Taifeng. Just at this time, Xiao, like a flying meteor, it flew over from the Iron Mountain Gang's group, streaking across the sky. Pooh! That ray of light pierced through the chest of the leader of the White Horse Battalion, easily penetrating his armor. The leader of the White Horse Battalion widened his eyes, but he still fell from his horse. The cavalrymen behind immediately pulled the reins. Chaos ensued. Chapter 68. P.S. Today is August 30th. The story of the 9 cauldrons will be published on September 1st. Tomorrow is August 31st, the last day of public updates. Therefore, Tomato planned to update at noon tomorrow to 12 o'clock tonight. Moreover, Tomato will start to crazily release the essence at 0:10 in the morning. At that time, Tomato will add essence to any comments made in the book review section. Nay, the numerous mounted gangsters of the White Horse Battalion pulled the reins, afraid to trample on their leader's corpse. A shadow rapidly passed through the cavalry and arrived beside the corpse. It was Master Hong Si, who had an ugly expression on his face. Master Hong Si touched his beloved disciple's neck and carefully observed the hole in his disciple's back armor. He was secretly shocked. What kind of concealed weapon is this? It can actually penetrate the chest and back armor? Raising his head, Master Hong Si stared at the 2 Wang brothers in the distance with a gaze like that of a poisonous snake. I didn't expect the 3 Wang brothers to have helpers. Concealed weapons were very difficult to practice. To become an expert, one needed sufficient wrist strength and a unique method of using inner strength. Brothers, let's besiege them. Master Hong Si shouted angrily. The 2 brothers of the Wang clan can forget about escaping today. As he spoke, he held the long saber and turned into a phantom as he rapidly pounced towards the 2 brothers of the Wang clan. Kill! The cavalrymen of the White Horse Battalion once again galloped along some of the roads in the stronghold. It should be known that the lair of the Iron Mountain Gang was large enough to accommodate thousands of people. Moreover, a large number of people often trained and galloped on horses. It was a few miles in length and width. Haha, old Hong, you have to be careful of my brother's concealed weapons. Wang Taizhan, who was running away, suddenly had an idea and laughed loudly. Master Hong Si's expression was cold, but he didn't reply and quickly chased after them. At this moment, many cavalrymen of the White Horse Battalion had already rushed to the front. One by one, they immediately jumped off their horses and surrounded the 2 Wang brothers from all directions. Big brother, the situation is not good. Second Master Wang Taifeng was anxious. Kill them all. Wang Taizhan licked his lips. His eyes filled with a ferocious glint like a wild wolf. There are experts secretly helping us. Today, it is still uncertain whether we will die or that old Hong will. When Wang Taifeng thought of the concealed weapon just now, his heart was filled with confidence. Inside the pavilion, Ting Qingshan watched from afar as Master Hong Si and the people of the White Horse Battalion surrounded the 2 Wang brothers. As for the other members of the White Horse Gang, they went around killing the members of the Iron Mountain Gang. The Iron Mountain Gang couldn't help the 2 Wang brothers at all. This Master Hong Si is really vigilant. When he was chasing after the 2 Wang brothers, he didn't dare to lower his guard in the slightest. With a single glance, Ting Qingshan could tell that Master Hong Si's speed was obviously much slower than before. His gaze would occasionally glance in this direction because the hidden weapons were shot from this direction. It was just that the hidden weapon was too fast, and no one knew where it came from. Old man, don't worry. I'll send you on your way in a while. Ting Qingshan quietly left the attic. Because Master Hong Si and the others had already run to the corners of a large number of houses, Ting Qingshan couldn't find a chance in the attic. As for killing Master Hong Si, Ting Qingshan was very confident. In his previous life, when Ting Qingshan threw a flying knife with all his strength, the power was even stronger than a bullet. The stone thrown was a bit weaker, but it was still close to a bullet. If the stone thrown in his previous life was like a pistol bullet, then the stone thrown in this life was like an armor-piercing bullet. Even a steel plate could be easily pierced through. When it was extremely fast, even a flying leaf could be killed, not to mention a stone. In the alleys of a large number of houses, a bloody massacre was currently going on. "Ha, all of you die!" Wang Taifeng roared, the pair of red copper hammers in his hands crazily dancing. When a white horse battalion man thrust his spear towards Wang Taifeng, Wang Tiefeng's red copper hammers left his hands and directly smashed the man's head. Even with the protection of a helmet, the man's head was still smashed open. Blood flowed out and he died on the spot. Wang Tiefeng's red copper hammers protected his entire body. Compared to Wang Taifeng, Wang Taizhan was even more terrifying. When the mountain-splitting saber, which was almost as tall as a person, was swung, it was like a large guillotine. When the saber was infused with inner strength, it could easily split armored bandits into two halves. "You have nowhere to run." A cold voice sounded, and Master Hong Si, with a cold expression, flew over. The long saber in his hands instantly turned into 9 saber shadows, hacking towards Wang Taifeng at the same time. Clang! 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 Wang Tiefeng's pair of red copper hammers danced airtight. At the same time, he roared, 18 mountain-blasting hammers. The shadows of the hammers danced and continuously collided with the long saber. Strong inner strength spurted out, and many holes and cracks appeared on the surrounding walls. Strangely, the shadow of the saber turned, drew a strange trajectory, and slashed towards Wang Tiefeng's throat. Wang Tiefeng's expression changed greatly. Clang! Suddenly, a mountain-splitting saber pierced through and blocked this fatal saber. It was his big brother, Wang Taizhan, who saved him. Wang Taifeng roared, and a red copper hammer left his hand and shot towards Master Hong Si in front of him. Master Hong Si quickly retracted his saber, turned around and easily dodged this hammer. "Second brother, go to the roof," Wang Taizhan shouted. As he spoke, Wang Taizhan and Wang Taifeng immediately jumped onto the roof. Master Hong Si's expression darkened. "If we reach the roof, the concealed weapons expert will easily see me. At that time, I will be in danger." Although he struggled in his heart, due to his confidence in his own strength and his determination to kill the 2 Wang brothers, Master Hong Si slightly hesitated before jumping onto the roof. The roof wasn't considered solid, but these 3 people were all inner strength experts. When they circulated their inner strength, their bodies became as light as a swallow. Poochie! Poochie! A large number of men from the White Horse Battalion stabbed their long spears towards the 2 Wang brothers on the roof. The 2 Wang brothers narrowly dodged. "Big brother, we are on the roof. If a large group of people from the White Horse gang see us, we will be in danger," Wang Taifeng anxiously said. At the same time, he pushed away an arrow that was shot towards him. At this time, more and more people from the White Horse gang gathered in the surroundings. "That concealed weapons expert will be able to see Old Hong and kill him if we are on the roof," Wang Taizhan shouted at the same time. "Don't worry about anything else. We only need to rush towards the northwest. It would be best if we rush into the Great Yen Mountain." Wang Taizhan and Wang Taifeng both wore armor. However, this armor was only useful against ordinary arrows. However, it was difficult to defend against the powerful and heavy thrust of the long spear. If the 200 cavalrymen of the White Horse Battalion charged with their warhorses, the power of their spears could completely penetrate steel. Even if they didn't have warhorses, with the strength of the White Horse Battalion, the power of their spears couldn't be underestimated. "Big brother, that old thief is catching up," Wang Taifeng anxiously said. "Who?" A swift saber shadow shot towards Wang Taifeng like a waterfall. Wang Taifeng roared and smashed with his red copper hammer. At this moment, Master Hong Xi's gaze turned cold. His face suddenly flushed red. The long saber in his hand suddenly sank, dodging this hammer strike. At the same time, the speed of the long saber suddenly increased to a terrifying level. Feeling a gust of wind passing by, Wang Taifeng stood there in a daze. A crack appeared on the waist of the armor on his body, and fresh blood flowed out. The two red copper hammers fell with a loud bang, smashed the roof, and fell down. Second brother. Wang Tieshan's facial expression changed greatly. Wang Taifeng fell from the roof, his body split into two, and his blood stained the ground. Wang Taizhan, you are the only one left. Master Hong Xi's flushed face gradually returned to normal. At the same time, he sneered at Wang Taizhan and said, "You should accompany your two brothers on the road to hell." At this stage, Master Hong Xi was already full of confidence. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would definitely win. Xiao! A terrifying sharp whistling sound resounded. Like a meteor, it rapidly traversed a distance of over 10 zhang. Too fast. Master Hong Xi was experienced in Jianghu. He had never relaxed his vigilance against concealed weapons expert. His facial expression changed, and his face flushed red again. The long saber in his hand slashed out a mirage. Clang! The concealed weapon hit the surface of the long saber. The long saber was knocked out of his hand and flew away. What a frightening strength, what a frightening speed! Master Hong Xi's right hand was numb. After personally feeling the power of the concealed weapon, he was finally shocked. This concealed weapon expert can definitely be ranked 72 on the Earth ranking. After Master Hong Xi reached the peak of the post-liminary realm, he only felt this frightened and powerless when facing the expert Yang Fan, who was ranked on the Earth ranking. Fortunately, his saber was a godly weapon refined from materials purchased with tens of thousands of taels of silver. If it was an ordinary saber, it would have long been pierced through. After dealing with the concealed weapon, Master Hong Xi felt a sharp pain in his neck. Master Hong Xi felt dizzy. Looking at Wang Taizhan, who was smiling sinisterly in front of him, and then looking at the large number of shocked members of the White Horse Gang, Master Hong Xi suddenly felt it was difficult to breathe. He covered his throat and desperately tried to breathe, but blood kept flowing out. "I got hit by a saber." Master Hong Xi widened his eyes in fright. In the past, when he wandered the land of the 9 prefectures, Master Hong Xi would only realize when his enemy was hit by his saber and died. Master Hong Xi was always proud of his saber's speed, but today the same scene had happened to him. Just when he was dealing with the fatal concealed weapon, Wang Taizhan naturally seized the opportunity and ruthlessly slashed Master Hong Xi's throat. This saber was too fast. Only when his neck was in pain did Master Hong Xi realize that he had been hit. Master Hong Xi covered his throat and stared at Wang Taizhan with widened eyes. He wanted to say something, but no words came out. With a loud bang, he fell from the roof and rolled to the ground. His helmet fell to the side, and his silver hair was dyed red with blood. The local tyrant of Yi City died just like that. Master Hong Xi was not willing to accept this. Wang Taizhan alone was definitely not his match. If he hadn't been completely shocked by the concealed weapon and focused all his attention on blocking the concealed weapon, how could he have given Wang Taizhan the chance? Among the panicking Iron Mountain gang members in the distance, a man with disheveled hair and an extremely sturdy figure indifferently watched this scene. "It's time to go back." He glanced at the surrounding panicking bandits and quickly flew towards the direction of the Great Yen Mountain, disappearing in a moment. P.S. Today is August 30th. The story of the 9 cauldrons will be published on September 1st. Tomorrow is August 31st, the last day of public updates. Therefore, Tomato planned to update tomorrow at noon to tonight at midnight. Moreover, Tomato will start to crazily release the essence at 0:10 in the morning. At that time, Any comments in the book review section will be enhanced by Tomato. Chapter 69. P.S. There will be an early update at noon, and I'm also calling for recommendation votes. The leader is dead. The leader is dead. Within the Iron Mountain Gang's stronghold, which was filled with blood and severed limbs, the members of the White Horse Gang were in chaos. Master Hong Xi's prestige was too high. The White Horse Gang was single-handedly established by Master Hong Xi. Although the lucky survivors of the Iron Mountain Gang had already fled in all directions, the death of Master Hong Xi was too great of a blow to the White Horse Gang. The mounted gangsters of the White Horse Gang were somewhat chaotic. Get lost. The great leader of the Iron Mountain Gang, Wang Taizhan, madly rushed towards the southwest. Pucci. Wang Taizhan took advantage of the chaos and quickly rushed into the Great Yen Mountain, cutting the people who dared to block his way into two halves. Children of the White Horse Gang, listen to me. I, Wang Taizhan, will come back. The other leaders of the White Horse Gang who are still alive, wash your necks and wait for me, Wang Taizhan, to chop them off. Those who are afraid of death, go back and disband the White Horse Gang, haha. Wild laughter reverberated throughout the entire stronghold. As for Wang Taizhan, no one knew where he had gone. Wang Taizhan, you let him escape? The man with a knife scar, who was wearing armor and riding a scarlet flame horse, shouted. Third leader. That Wang Taizhan ran very fast, and at that time, everyone was concerned about the leader. The mounted gangsters of the White Horse Battalion were also somewhat helpless. Father, father. At this moment, a figure dashed over and knelt beside Master Hong Xi's corpse. It was precisely the young leader, Hong Zhenjie. Zhenjie. The knife-scarred man said, Don't cry, Big Brother is dead, but the most important thing now is to guard against that Wang Taizhan. Today we annihilated the Iron Mountain Gang and killed 2 of his brothers. He won't rest until we're dead. You've also heard his final words. The young master, Hong Zhenjie, straightened his body. Third uncle, I understand. This time, we've suffered great losses. My father, my senior brother, and my second uncle are all dead. You and I are the only ones left in charge. In the future, I'll have to rely on you for many things. The knife-scarred man nodded and sighed. This time, our White Horse Gang lost many men and horses. Even the White Horse Battalion lost many men. Hong Zhenjie surveyed his surroundings. This time, the White Horse Gang had brought more than 6,000 men, but only 1,000 had truly died in the battle. However, many of them were injured and many of them were crippled. Once he was crippled, his combat strength would naturally decrease. Even if he was alive, he would only have one more mouth to feed. At this juncture, our White Horse Gang has to pass through. Hong Zhenjie said. Although that Wang Taizhan is troublesome, he's just one person, so it's not too difficult to deal with. The knife-scarred man frowned and said, The worst thing is, Big Brother is dead. Big Brother is a great deterrent to all the gangs in E-City. Many gangs submitted to us and even paid us money. This is all because of Big Brother. But Big Brother was dead now. I'm afraid that the gangs, big and small, will become restless. Hong Zhenjie was a little vexed after hearing this. The leader of a powerful gang had to be able to keep people under control. Otherwise, even his subordinates would not be convinced, and his enemies would probably make a move on him. My White Horse Gang has been in E-City for dozens of years and has a deep foundation. We are not easily moved by others. Hong Zhenjie coldly snorted. However, third uncle, what you said is not unreasonable. This time, we need to absorb some gang members. The worst thing is, this time, the White Horse Battalion lost dozens of brothers. The White Horse Battalion was cultivated by father for dozens of years. It will be difficult to replenish them. The core of the White Horse Gang was the White Horse Battalion. The White Horse Battalion, with 200 people, had a combat strength that surpassed 2,000 ordinary mounted gangsters. This was also the elite force that Master Hong Si established by imitating the black armored corps of the Gui Yuan sect. Zhenjie, it's getting dark. Should we temporarily stay here and wait until tomorrow morning to depart? The knife-scarred man asked. Looking up at the sky, it was dusky. Hong Zhenjie nodded and said, First, take a good look and see how many brothers are injured and how many brothers are dead. Count them all. Hong Zhenjie also felt vexed. When his father, Master Hong Si, was still alive, he, the young master, could comfortably enjoy life as long as his father was around. However, with the death of Master Hong Si, Hong Zhenjie felt that the position of E-City's local tyrant was not so easy to sit on. In the great Yen Mountain, crackling sounds could be heard from the bones and muscles of Ting Qingshan's entire body. His entire body grew taller and returned to his original height. His figure also returned to its original appearance. Although Ting Qinghu, who was at the side, had seen it once before, he still felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. Qingshan. Ting Qinghu worriedly said, Just now, you also heard the sound of the great master of the Iron Mountain Gang escaping. This Wang Taizhan will not rest until the White Horse Gang is dead. Our E-City will probably be in chaos. In the future, I'm afraid that our Tingjia village will not be safe. As Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu walked in the mountain forest, he said, This time, the White Horse Gang suffered a great loss. Master Hong Si and the young master both died. Even the White Horse Battalion lost many men and horses. That young master died? Ting Qinghu was overjoyed. He was halfway up the mountain and simply couldn't clearly see what happened below. He only heard that when Wang Taizhan escaped, he circulated his inner strength and drew a picture. Yes, he died. Ting Qingshan nodded. He had personally shot him, so of course he was certain. Good, good. Ting Qinghu said hatefully. The Iron Mountain Gang's losses were even greater. Those 20 mounted gangsters with inner strength and 3,000 core gang members either died or escaped. The Iron Mountain Gang is finished this time. However, Ting Qingshan frowned. With such a great loss to the White Horse Gang, the other gangs in our E-City will definitely be in chaos. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu continued to advance in the mountain. Although Ting Qingshan knew that the future would be chaotic, he wasn't worried. This was because with Tingjia Village's own strength, especially the birth of a group of inner strength experts, Tingjia Village was not afraid of ordinary gangs. As for the White Horse Gang, with such a great loss, they would focus all their energy on the gang and probably wouldn't find trouble with some villages. The sky was dark and it was almost midnight. Ting Qingshan and Ting Yongfan passed through the mountain and arrived outside the gate of Tingjia Village. Who is it? The guard at the gate of Tingjia Village saw two blurred figures in the distance and hastily shouted. It's me, Qingshan. Ting Qingshan said. Although the great Yen Mountain was large, if it was Ting Qingshan himself, he would be able to travel 100 li in an hour. According to the calculation speed of his previous life, it would be 56 kilometers per hour. This was a mountain road. Of course, this kind of thing could only be done by an inhuman existence like Ting Qingshan. Ting Qinghu's speed was much slower. It took the two of them 8 hours to reach Tingjia Village in the middle of the night. Qingshan is back? A few people immediately ran over from the training field. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu walked in from the side door and discovered Chief Ting Yunlong, as well as Ting Qingshan's parents and Ting Qinghu's parents. Qingshan, you guys scared me. Ting Yunlong smiled as he walked over. When I think of those two brats running over with the White Horse Gang, I'm scared. Alright, you guys finally came back alive. Ting Qingshan borrowed the light from the torch beside the gate to see the bloodshot eyes of his grandfather. He reckoned that his grandfather couldn't feel at ease after coming back today. His family members were also worried. None of them slept and waited on the training field. Grandfather! Grandfather! Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu also felt the concern of their elders. You guys must have seen many things today. Let's go and talk at my place. Ting Yunlong said. Lan, you women should go back to sleep. Yongfan, you two brothers come with me. Immediately, Ting Qingshan and the others arrived at Chief Ting Yunlong's residence. In the central room, the door was closed. There were only 5 people in the room. Chief Ting Yunlong, Ting Yongfan and Ting Yonghang, as well as Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu. What's the result? Ting Yunlong directly asked. Ting Qingshan opened his mouth and said, the White Horse Gang and the Iron Mountain Gang both suffered great losses. The Iron Mountain Gang was almost completely annihilated, and only a few ordinary gang members escaped. As for the experts, only the great leader Wang Taizhan escaped. As for the White Horse Gang, their losses were also great. Master Hong Si and his son, the young leader, both died. Master Hong Si died? Ting Yunlong, Ting Yongfan, and Ting Yonghang were all shocked. Master Hong Si, these 3 words were like a golden signboard. In Yi City, Master Hong Si was the local tyrant. It could be said that he controlled the life and death of many people. This old thief actually died? It's good that he died, it's good that he died. Ting Yunlong couldn't help but laugh. He laughed so hard that tears flowed out of his eyes. I didn't expect that I, Ting Yunlong, would be able to wait until this old thief died. King old thief, he's finally dead. Ting Yonghang also cursed. Ting Qingshan and the others could also understand the resentment of their father's generation. In these past decades, the White Horse Gang had been tyrannical. When the Ting Jia village was weak and small, they had suffered too much bullying and humiliation. In their father's generation, many women were kidnapped. It could be said that the Ting Jia village had a heavy debt of blood. How did that old thief die? Ting Yunlong asked. I didn't see it clearly when I was halfway up the mountain. Qingshan was hiding inside, so he should have seen it clearly. Ting Qinghu said. Ting Yunlong and the other 2 immediately looked at Ting Qingshan. Chapter 70. Master Hong Si was killed by Wang Taizhan with 1 slash. At that time, the situation was quite chaotic, and the second leader of the Iron Mountain Gang, Wang Taifeng, was killed by Master Hong Si. Ting Qingshan said. Although Master Hong Si's death was closely related to him, Ting Qingshan didn't intend to say it out loud. Saying it out loud was just to show off and was meaningless. Retribution, retribution. Ting Yunlong couldn't help but laugh out loud. The other people in the central room also seemed very happy. Ting Yunlong immediately smiled and said, that old thief's death is very satisfying. But with his death, Yi City will probably be in turmoil. Grandfather, I think our clan needs to forge armor, Ting Qingshan said solemnly. When fighting, without armor to protect us, we can easily lose our lives. But with armor, we will be much stronger when fighting. Just looking at the White Horse Battalion, with their heavy armor, they could easily kill many people with 1 charge. Armor was good, but it was expensive. Forging armor was much more difficult than forging swords and spears. A good material that could cover the whole body, and was well made would cost at least 1,000 taels of silver, which was enough to buy a top-class warhorse. If it was simple heavy armor, it would cost 200 taels of silver. This was also the reason why ordinary villages could not afford armor. Just a few sets of good armors were enough to make a village so poor that it had no money. As for some simple and thin armor, it was cheap, but with the bravery of the mountain people, a spear could pierce through it. Thin armor was useless. To be completely protected, heavy armor was necessary. Of course, using precious materials such as 10 millennia cold steel, it was possible to forge armor that was light and had good defense. But the price was too frightening. After all, the materials used to forge armor were much more than swords and spears. That thing is expensive. The eyes of Ting Qinghu's father, Ting Yonghang, lit up, but he still smacked his lips and said, Qingshan is right, we should forge heavy armor. Ting Yunlong was unprecedentedly excited. Our Tingjia village can forge our own heavy armor. We only need to buy the materials. If we choose the materials for one heavy armor, 100 taels of silver should be enough. If we purchase 200 of them, that would be 20,000 taels of silver. 20,000 taels. Ting Yonghang was shocked. This matter can be done. Ting Yongfan stood up and said, the last time Ting Qingshan went to E-City to exchange for star-pattern steel, he brought back no less than 600 taels of gold. Tingjia village didn't lack money. It will take a long time to forge so many armors. Ting Yongfan said. Yes, when the time comes, we'll find more clansmen to help. Heavy armor doesn't require much skill. Yongfan, those apprentices of yours can also forge them. Ting Yunlong said, tomorrow we will expand the weapon shop and let those apprentices forge together. We will forge these 200 heavy armors as soon as possible. Grandpa, Dad, should we forge 200 pieces? Ting Qingshan asked. Ting Yunlong laughed and said, all the powerful men in the clan, put them on. Tingjia village's current martial strength was indeed very strong. Ever since Ting Qingshan taught them the Tiger Fist became the fist technique that the men of the Ting clan practiced since childhood. In the past 6 years, more than 50 clansmen had developed inner strength. Although the other clansmen didn't develop inner strength, the internal martial arts had the effect of strengthening the body, greatly increasing the strength of the clansmen. In the past, the strong men of Tingjia village could generally lift 300 jin. But after 6 years, many of them could lift 400 jin. Many of them could lift more than 500 jin, so they could wear heavy armor and walk as if they were flying. Grandpa, Dad, I think there are more than 50 people in the clan who have developed inner strength. We should first make 50 sets of heavy armor. These 50 sets of heavy armor should be made with good materials and given to the people who have developed inner strength. Ting Qingshan suggested. I think it's a good idea. Ting Yunlong agreed. After all, 600 taels of gold was equivalent to 60,000 taels of silver. Tingjia village could afford to be extravagant. Good steel should be used on the blade, and gold and silver should be spent wisely. Qingshan, Qinghu. Ting Yunlong looked at the two of them and said, I know that the two of you plan to join the Guiyuan sect. This time, Qinghu didn't get married. Forget it, in the future, Qinghu, you won't have to worry about not being able to find a wife. I want to ask, when do you plan to join the Guiyuan sect? Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu looked at each other. Grandpa, let's wait for the situation in E-City to become clearer. We have waited for so many years, so there is no need to rush for a year. Ting Qingshan was still a bit worried. Yes. Ting Qinghu nodded in agreement. Early the next morning, when the sun was high up in the sky, Tingjia village began to bustle with activity. Ting Yongfan immediately arranged for people to order materials for the heavy armor. Many young men in the village also tore down the walls of the weapons shop to expand the shop. They were about to forge 200 sets of heavy armor, which was a lot more work than forging 182 frost jade sabers. In the courtyard of Ting Qingshan's house. Breathe. Inhale. Deep and powerful breaths matched each of his move. Ting Qingshan was practicing the 3 postures of Xing Yi. Although his movements seemed slow as a millstone, his punches were as fast as lightning, producing explosive sounds and stirring up wind in the entire courtyard. Ting Qingshan was completely immersed in the 3 postures of Xing Yi. His legs seemed to be rooted to the ground. His hands alternated between fast and slow, light and heavy. Alternating left and right, Ting Qingshan practiced and actually felt a state of alternating yin and yang. After being immersed in this state for more than 2 hours, Ting Qingshan finally stopped to rest. Let's go take a look at the training field. Ting Qingshan held his reincarnation spear and quickly arrived at the training field. The training field was very noisy. There were people practicing their spear arts, training their strength, practicing the tiger fist, and sparring with each other. There were hundreds of men on the training field, and it was a scene of bustling activity. At the side of the field, there were many children and women laughing as they watched and discussed. All of them seemed very happy. Why do the men in the clan fight to the death? Isn't it so that the clansmen can live a good life? Feeling the joy and harmony, Ting Qingshan's heart felt very warm. These things in front of him were what the clansmen protected. "Brother!" A clear and melodious voice rang out. Qingyu, who was wearing a flowery shirt and had her hair combed into 2 ponytails, ran over excitedly. "What are you looking at over there? Watching them practice the tiger fist?" Ting Qingshan said with a smile. "How can they fight as well as you, brother?" Qingyu hugged Ting Qingshan's arm and said sweetly, "Look at how mischievous you are, like a boy. Little you are almost an adult and are about to get married. Why don't you learn to be more gentle and quiet? Let's see who would dare to marry you in the future." Ting Qingshan purposely reprimanded. Qingyu wrinkled her nose and snorted, "Humph, brother. Can't you see how many people have come to our house to ask for a matchmaker? However, those men, I don't like any of them. Even if my future man can't catch up to you, he will at least be half as good as you." Hearing this, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but laugh. Looking up at the sky, the sun was already in the middle of the sky. "Little you, it's going to be lunch soon. Let's go back first," Ting Qingshan said. Just as Ting Qingshan finished speaking, the earth began to tremble. Ting Qingshan furrowed his brows and looked towards the outside of Tingjia village's gate. In the distance, he could vaguely see many people on horses galloping over. The entire training field immediately quieted down. Many clansmen immediately grabbed their spears, and many clansmen even anxiously shouted, "The mounted gangsters are here." The shouts echoed in the sky above Tingjia village. Immediately, a large number of clansmen from all over the village ran towards the training field with spears and bows. "White Horse Battalion?" Ting Qingshan furrowed his brows. The mounted gangsters outside the gate, regardless of whether they were men or horses, were all covered in armor. The dense black mass made people's hearts tremble uncontrollably. Ting Qingshan had seen the soldiers of the White Horse Battalion before. Of course, he could recognize with a glance that these over 100 mounted gangsters were the White Horse Gang's most elite White Horse Battalion. "Open the gate!" The mounted gangsters shouted loudly. "Open the gate or not." The Tingjia village guards and many clansmen looked towards Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan opened his mouth and said, "Open the gate." Immediately, the clan gate opened with a loud bang, and over 100 cavalrymen of the White Horse Battalion entered the training field. The White Horse Gang and the Iron Mountain Gang had a life-and-death battle yesterday evening. The White Horse Gang has so many people, and some of them are injured or disabled. It's impossible for them to return at night. They probably set off from the Iron Mountain Gang in the morning. In other words, the men of the White Horse Battalion didn't have time to return to the White Horse Lake and directly came to our Tingjia village. Ting Qingshan also noticed. Not all of them are from the White Horse Battalion. Just now, when he roughly looked from afar, they all seemed to be wearing armor. However, now that he looked closer, among this large group of people, there were 12 who didn't wear armor. "Who is the chief of your Tingjia village?" The leader of the White Horse Battalion, who was riding on a war horse, coldly shouted. More than 100 men and horses were wearing armor, forming a dense black mass. The atmosphere of the entire training field seemed to have frozen. Moreover, yesterday's slaughter caused the White Horse Battalion's mounted gangsters to carry the smell of blood, which made people's hearts tremble. Many clansmen didn't dare to breathe loudly, and the children all looked at this group of mounted gangsters in fear. "It's me." At this time, Ting Qingshan walked out from the crowd, and Ting Qingshan immediately followed behind his grandfather. The clansmen all stood behind the chief with weapons in their hands. Once the chief gave the order, they would fight regardless of everything. Ting Qingshan, who are you? The leader shouted again. Ting Qingshan took a step forward and stood side by side with his grandfather. He smiled and said, I am Ting Qingshan. This lord should be the leader of the White Horse Battalion, right? I don't know why you have come to our Tingjia village. The leader's indifferent gaze swept over Ting Qingshan, and he immediately grinned. You are Ting Qingshan? Rumor has it that you are the #1 hero of Tingjia village. I don't know about your abilities, but at least your courage isn't small. Today I have come to your village with a great gift. Great gift? Ting Yunlong was somewhat puzzled. A cavalryman beside the leader immediately shouted, You all listen carefully. This is our White Horse Gang's young master. In a few days, he will be our White Horse Gang's new great master. Today, the young master has come here to recruit real heroes to join our White Horse Battalion. Tingjia village's side suddenly burst into an uproar. White Horse Battalion? The White Horse Gang's most elite team? Young master? He didn't die? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Ting Yunlong, who was beside him, also looked at Ting Qingshan with doubt. Last night, Ting Qingshan clearly said that the young master had already died. If he is the young master, then who was the person I killed? Ting Qingshan glanced at the weapon in the young master's hand, which was also the same sharp saber as Master Hong Si. The person I killed yesterday was also the leader of the White Horse Battalion and had the same saber technique as Master Hong Si. Although he didn't know who he killed, Ting Qingshan understood. The person he killed wasn't the young master, because the young master was right in front of him. Any man who can lift 500 jin is qualified to join the White Horse Battalion. If one joins, the annual tribute will be reduced by 20%. If two join, the annual tribute will be reduced by 40%. As long as you have 5 people join the White Horse Battalion, then, from today onwards, your Tingjia village's annual tribute will be waived. The cavalryman shouted loudly. Immediately, the martial arts field burst into an uproar. The young master, Hong Jinjie, was riding on his war horse, sweeping his eyes over this group of people like an emperor inspecting his subordinates. Hong Jinjie's gaze fell on a very delicate and pretty girl behind Ting Qingshan. Her flowery clothes seemed simple, but her face was white and rosy, as if water could be squeezed out with a pinch. She didn't look very old, and her hair was tied in a ponytail, looking somewhat immature. However, her bulging breasts and tall figure showed that this beautiful girl had already matured. Hong Jinjie's eyes couldn't help but light up. P.S. Writing a novel requires publishing it to earn money. There's no other way. Tomato also relies on this to earn money. Tonight, after 12 o'clock, the story of the 9 cauldrons will be published. At that time, the previous VIP chapter will be updated. After becoming a VIP, under normal circumstances, Tomato will update a chapter every day at around 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. 2 chapters a day. Of course, tomorrow is the first day of publication, so it's special to update 3 chapters. Tomorrow is September 1st. Tomato also hopes that everyone will support Tomato and buy more monthly vote. Let's go. Chapter 71. A trace of a smile appeared on Hong Jinjie's face. He withdrew his gaze from Qingyu and swept his gaze towards Ting Qingshan and Ting Yunlong. Isn't joining the White Horse Battalion the same as becoming mounted bandits? Ting Yongxiang frowned and said in a low voice. Ting Yunlong was worried and looked towards Ting Qingshan beside him. Qingshan, what do you think we should do? This White Horse Battalion isn't that easy to get rid of. Ting Qingshan pondered. Just when the Tingjia village clansmen were discussing spiritedly. Many people dream of joining the White Horse Battalion. This is a rare opportunity. The cavalryman beside Hong Jinjie pointed towards the 12 armorless brawny men. Look, these 12 brothers were chosen from the 5 villages we just went to. Every village has people joining the White Horse Battalion. Your Tingjia village is no exception, right? Of course, Ting Qingshan and the others could hear the threat in these words. Young master. Ting Yunlong cupped his hands and said loudly, the men of our Tingjia village are reluctant to leave the clan. Tingjia village, shut up! The cavalryman who spoke shouted angrily. His warhorse suddenly moved a few steps forward and the long spear in his hand pierced downwards. Pooh! Ting Qingshan grabbed the shaft of the spear with one hand and raised his head to look at the cavalryman. Brother of the White Horse Battalion, let's not talk about whether or not anyone from my Tingjia village joined the White Horse Battalion today. Just my grandfather is the chief of my Ting clan. Isn't he someone you can beat and kill? If you dare to touch my chief today, my Ting clan will make sure you can't walk out of this door. You dare to hit my grandfather? You're courting death. Ting Qinghu also roared. You really think that our Tingjia village is easy to bully? I'll split you alive. The men of Tingjia village held their weapons, and their eyes flashed with an ominous glint. It seemed like they would immediately attack if there was any disagreement. You! The cavalryman fiercely pulled his spear twice, but the spear in Ting Qingshan's hand didn't budge at all. Suddenly, Ting Qingshan's hand loosened, and the cavalryman couldn't help but sway back, almost falling off his horse. He hastily grabbed the reins to stabilize himself, looking very embarrassed. Ting Qingshan looked at him coldly. When the young master, Hong Zhenjie, saw this scene, he was secretly alarmed. This Ting Qingshan really lives up to his reputation. This kid, Yan, was personally trained by father. He has practiced inner strength, yet he was still able to pull the spear shaft without moving. It seems like the rumor 2 years ago that this Ting Qingshan and the second master of the Iron Mountain gang were equally matched is true. He glanced at the entire Ting clan and said, in the battle with the Iron Mountain gang, my White Horse gang suffered a great loss. It's best if we don't suffer any losses. Otherwise, if we really fight and slaughter Tingjia village, my White Horse Battalion will probably lose more than half of their men. The White Horse Battalion was indeed made up of elite, coupled with their heavy armor and war horses. Even the third master of the Iron Mountain gang, Wang Taihai, who was at the peak of the post-liminary realm, was killed in one charge. The other 2 masters of the Iron Mountain gang could only evade and hide from them. With this, one could imagine how terrifying the White Horse Battalion was. Once more than 100 heavy cavalry charged, it wouldn't be difficult to wipe out Tingjia village. Haha, Ting Qingshan. Not bad. Hong Zhenjie laughed and said, if you join my White Horse Battalion, your Tingjia village's annual tribute will be waived. How about it? I can let you be the new leader of the White Horse Battalion. What Hong Zhenjie needed the most right now was a true expert. The leader of the White Horse Battalion? Thank you, young master, for thinking highly of me. However, Qingshan loves his family and doesn't want to go to the White Horse Lake for the time being. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and said. Ting Qingshan was betting. He was betting that the White Horse gang was currently in a crisis. The young master, Hong Zhenjie, was unwilling to waste elites in Tingjia village. Haha! Sitting on the war horse, Hong Zhenjie laughed loudly and said, good. In the future, whenever you want to join my White Horse gang, just go. Today. I won't haggle with your Tingjia village. Hearing this, many people in Tingjia village breathed a sigh of relief. However, Ting Qingshan, Ting Yunlong, and the others were puzzled. The White Horse gang was the local tyrant. When did the White Horse gang admit defeat? When did the White Horse gang talk reason? If they talked reason, then it wouldn't be the White Horse gang anymore. Ting Qingshan, what is the name of the girl behind you? Hong Zhenjie suddenly asked. Ting Qingshan's complexion changed. Qingyu, who was behind him, immediately grabbed Ting Qingshan's clothes and hid behind Ting Qingshan. She is my sister. Ting Qingshan stared at Hong Zhenjie. Young master, why are you asking about this girl? Chief Ting Yunlong said in a low voice. Hong Jinjie didn't care about Ting Qingshan's gaze at all. He laughed and said, "Your sister?" "Yes, the older brother is a man, and the younger sister is also pretty and delicate. I, Hong Jinjie, will be thick-skinned and propose a marriage with your Ting Jia village. Let your younger sister marry me and be my concubine. How about it?" "Young master." Ting Yongfan, the father, was anxious. "My daughter is already married." He could only use a lie to dodge the question. "Married? Just reject it. If you can't reject it, then tell me who that man is. I will go kill him." Hong Jinjie laughed lightly and said, "Be my Hong Jinjie's woman and you will enjoy endless wealth in the future." "I won't marry you!" Qingyu suddenly yelled. Hong Jinjie's eyes brightened and he laughed. "Your voice is very pleasant to hear." He then glanced at the Ting clan chief and asked, "Chief Ting, what do you say? Qingyu is already married. She really can't." Ting Yunlong also used this reason to refute. Hong Jinjie's face darkened. He coldly looked around at the group of people from Ting Jia village and said, "I, Hong Jinjie, have given your Ting Jia village enough face today. Don't be so shameless. Don't think that I, Hong Jinjie, have a good temper. All of you listen to me clearly. This woman will come with me. If she dares to say no, today, I will massacre your Ting Jia village." Immediately, the cavalry of the White Horse Battalion advanced forward. Everyone in Ting Jia village felt their hearts in their throat. "Humph!" Hong Jinjie's face darkened. In Hong Jinjie's view, his father was dead, so he, Hong Jinjie, was the local tyrant of Yi City. He had the final say in Yi City. Whoever he liked in Ting Jia village was a blessing. Today, he pretended to be a gentleman, but he didn't expect that Ting Jia village wouldn't give him face. This made Hong Jinjie angry. Motherf asterisk her, who cares? If worst comes to worst, I'll just kill them all. I'll lose some brothers of the White Horse Battalion. Humph, my White Horse gang still has at least 6,000 core disciples. Those small gangs still dare to rebel? Hong Jinjie grew up in a bandit's nest, so he had the air of a bandit. In a moment of hot-headedness, who cares? I'll just kill them first. Qingshan. Ting Yongfan looked towards Ting Qingshan. "Qingshan, what do you think we should do?" Ting Yunlong lowered his voice. "If we fight, do you have confidence?" "Confidence?" If they fought in Ting Jia village, it would take some time for Ting Qingshan to kill more than 100 cavalrymen of the White Horse Battalion. At that time, a large number of his clansmen would have died. "Brother." Qingyu tugged at Ting Qingshan's clothes. Ting Qingshan turned his head to look at his sister. Qingyu's face was full of tears. She seemed to feel that the future had become dark. "Little you, do you believe in brother? No matter what decision I make, you will believe in me?" Ting Qingshan looked at Qingyu. "Yes." Ting Qingyu clenched her teeth. "I will listen to brother." Ting Qingshan held Ting Qingyu's hand and raised his head to look at Hong Jinjie, who was emitting a murderous aura. "Young master, in fact, my sister is still underage. Even if she gets married, it should be after the annual sacrifice. Moreover, this important matter of marriage should be decided by parents. How about we come to my house, sit down, and discuss this matter?" Hong Jinjie's eyes narrowed slightly, and then he sneered. "Okay, let's see what you have to say." Immediately, Hong Jinjie's large group of people walked along the road in the village towards Ting Qingshan's house. Ting Qingshan, Ting Yunlong, Ting Yongfan, and the others naturally followed. What is Qingshan planning? Many clansmen looked in the direction of Ting Qingshan's house, feeling puzzled. Qingshan won't let Qingyu get married, will he? Some clansmen were worried. There were also some elders in the clan who sighed. What else can he do? Fortunately, Qingyu is officially married to that young master. In the future, she won't have to suffer much. What are you talking about? How can Qingyu marry that young master? Many people were sitting in the central room of Ting Qingshan's house. The courtyard was filled with people of the White Horse Battalion with weapons in their hands. Hong Jinjie boldly sat down and looked around at the people around him. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Since the young master wants to marry my sister so much, you have to show your sincerity. Let's not talk about the betrothal gift. At the very least, you have to set a good date and come to fetch the bride." Ting Qingshan felt Qingyu's hand tighten. Qingshan. Many people looked at Ting Qingshan in surprise. Fetch the bride? Hong Jinjie glanced at Ting Qingyu, who was crying like a pear blossom. According to his temper, he would have just taken Qingyu away. What the hell was there to fetch the bride? However, this girl is really tempting. Moreover, her brother is an expert. If I marry his sister, wouldn't he become my brother-in-law? At that time, I will let him join my White Horse gang. Hong Zhenjia's thoughts were very beautiful. Marrying a beautiful girl and bringing an expert with him, why not? Haha. Alright, then let's set a date. Hong Zhenjia laughed. Grandfather, which day is an auspicious day? Ting Qingshan asked. Ting Yunlong was very calm. The 16th of March is a good day. Wouldn't that take a few days? Hong Zhenjia shook his head. The day after tomorrow, the 9th of March, isn't that a good day? Let's do it the day after tomorrow. At that time, I will personally come to fetch the bride. Okay, the day after tomorrow. Ting Qingshan nodded. Good. Hong Zhenjia laughed out loud. Ting Qingshan, my brother-in-law. Then I will come the day after tomorrow and personally bring people to fetch the bride. You must come to my place to drink the wedding wine. Definitely. Young gang leader, you personally invited me. How could I dare not go? Ting Qingshan replied. Okay. Hong Zhenjie stood up. Without greeting the others, he turned around and said, Brothers, let's go. Watching Hong Zhenjie and the others leave, the people in the central room started to make a ruckus. Qingshan, what are you thinking? How can you let your sister marry that young master? Yuan Lan anxiously asked. Ting Yunlong also asked doubtfully, Qingshan, do you really plan to let your sister marry that young master? Ting Qingshan also looked at Ting Qingshan. Brother. Qingyu, who was at the side, looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan held his sister's hand and comforted her. Little you, it's okay. Believe in your brother. Isn't the wedding supposed to wait until the day after tomorrow? Ting Qingshan said. The day after tomorrow. It will arrive soon. Yuan Lan anxiously said. However, that Hong Zhenjie can't wait until the day after tomorrow. Ting Qingshan turned his head and looked outside. Listening to the sound of hooves, the people of the White Horse Battalion should have left Tingjia village. There weren't many outsiders in the central room, only Ting Yongfan and his wife, Ting Qingyu and Ting Yunlong. The others were blocked outside and didn't let in. Qingshan, what are you doing? Ting Yongfan and the others felt that something was wrong. I'm going out for a while. Ting Qingshan faintly smiled. He didn't take out his reincarnation spear and instead used crossing world. His entire body suddenly turned into a phantom and disappeared from the courtyard. He then appeared on the roof of a house in the distance. With another flash, his figure had already disappeared from Ting Yunlong and the others' sight. P.S. Haha, even if you want to kill someone, you can't dirty Tingjia village, right? Yes, it's on the shelves. The story of the 9 cauldrons is on the shelves today. It's been 2 to 3 months since it made an impact on the monthly votes list. Brothers, this is the first day of the new book. Everyone, please support the monthly votes and let the story of the 9 cauldrons be more glorious than Coiling Dragon. Click on the Recommend Monthly Votes to Support Author button below. Click a few more times and the story of the 9 cauldrons will rush to first place. Haha, I'm counting on you brothers. Chapter 72. In the central room, Ting Yunlong and the others were completely stunned. In a flash, he appeared on a distant roof, and in another flash, he disappeared from their sight. Was this still the Ting Qingshan they knew? Qingshan, he. Ting Yongfan stammered. This is Qinggong, the most powerful Qinggong. Ting Yunlong reacted and said with surprise, when I was young, I saw Master Hong Si use Qinggong. Master Hong Si's speed was not as fast as Qingshan. Too fast, faster than a galloping horse. Qingshan actually has such a powerful Qinggong. Brother is so powerful. Qingyu was very excited. Foster father, if Qingshan goes out now, will he? Mother Yuanlan worriedly said. Ting Yunlong also frowned and said, didn't you hear what Qingshan said? That Hong Jinjie doesn't have the post-liminary realm. If Qingshan goes out now, he will kill the young Master Hong Jinjie and the people of the White Horse Battalion. Teacher, will there be any problems? Ting Yongfan was also very worried. After all, the White Horse Battalion was too famous. They were the most elite troops of the White Horse Gang. Every soldier of the White Horse Battalion wore heavy armor and rode on top of the war horses. When they charged, even a peak post-liminary realm expert would find it hard to escape. I have never been able to see through Qingshan. At the age of 10, he could exterminate a wolf pack, kill the Wolf King, and create the Tiger Fist by himself. Without anyone to teach him, he could reach the level of a first-rated warrior who can lift 10,000 jin. Now, he has revealed such an amazing Qinggong. Ting Yunlong looked at the distant sky and said, since Qingshan wants to kill the young master and the White Horse Battalion, I believe that he will definitely be able to do it. The people in the central room all quieted down. In these years, Ting Qingshan was indeed omnipotent. There was nothing that could baffle Ting Qingshan. They looked at the sky outside and silently hoped in their hearts. At this moment, the only thing they could do was to hope. Originally, the sun was shining brightly, but as the clouds covered the sky and the earth suddenly darkened, and gusts of wind whistled. The heavens were indeed fickle. Using the crossing worlds, Ting Qingshan quickly saw the silhouettes of the White Horse Battalion. He immediately stopped using the crossing worlds and simply relied on the speed of his powerful body to follow them. With Ting Qingshan's monstrous body, his speed was much faster than a horse's, so he could easily follow them. Crossing Worlds was the top Qinggong secret manual in Ting Qingshan's previous life. This Crossing Worlds was mainly divided into 3 levels. At the highest level, one could achieve the effect of so close yet so far. However, up until now, Ting Qingshan could only use the first level because the second and third levels could only be used after reaching the Xiantian realm. After all, the level of so close, yet worlds apart had very harsh requirements. Crossing Worlds had a total of 3 footwork diagrams and 6 meridian diagrams. On the first level, he only needed to practice the most basic footwork diagram. Of course, with Ting Qingshan's tyrannical body that was shockingly strong, just the speed that his body gave him was already extremely fast. Coupled with the secret manual of Qinggong, his speed was even more shocking. Rumble, dark clouds covered the sky, and the sound of thunder began to resound. Ting Qingshan was like a wisp of green smoke, maintaining the same speed as a galloping steed. He followed the group of people from the White Horse Battalion from afar, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes as he looked into the distance. Hong Jinjie, I didn't expect that the one who was killed yesterday wasn't you, and that you were able to escape this calamity. But you actually delivered yourself to my door, and you even wanted Xiao Yu? There is no door to hell, and you barged in yourself. You're courting death, and you can't blame others. This group of people from the White Horse Battalion has countless blood on their hands. Today I will kill them all. Ting Qingshan's speed suddenly increased, and he directly scuttled into the Great Yen Mountain to the side. In the Great Yen Mountain, Ting Qingshan was like a mountain ghost, and his speed suddenly soared. A group of mounted gangsters from the White Horse Battalion dashed on the road beside the Great Yen Mountain, while Ting Qingshan ran side by side with this group of mounted gangsters in the Great Yen Mountain. They are about 5 to 6 li away from my Tingjia village. If they were to mix with the several thousand men of the White Horse Gang, then it would be troublesome. It's time to act. Ting Qingshan was very clear that he could annihilate this group of people from the White Horse Battalion, but if they were to mix with the 5 to 6,000 men of the White Horse Gang, even if these 5 to 6,000 men just stood there and let you kill them, killing one person per second would take nearly 2 hours. Moreover, they wouldn't just stand there and let you kill them. Moreover, it would take 2 hours for a group of people to escape. Therefore, when faced with a sea of people, no matter how powerful an expert was, he could only capture and kill the leader. Boom! The sound of thunder suddenly resounded in the sky, and immediately after, there was a torrential downpour. The torrential downpour came extremely quickly. In the time of a few breaths, rain poured down from the heavens and the earth, madly pouring down. The heavens and the earth suddenly became a vast expanse of water. Excluding the 12 who just joined, there are 146 people. One by one, Ting Qingshan randomly grabbed some stones from the mountainous area. Stones were the cheapest hidden weapons. In the hands of an expert like Ting Qingshan, who possessed endless strength, vigorous inner strength, and also knew how to use hidden weapons, every stone was equivalent to an armor-piercing bullet. Even an expert like Master Hong Si, using his ultimate skill, could barely protect his vital parts with his saber. However, the weapon in his hand was still bounced off by a stone. The strength of these stones could be imagined. More than 100 riders gallop. Motherf ****, what kind of damned weather is this? Riding at the very front, Hong Jinjie couldn't help but squint his eyes because a large amount of rain was madly smashing down. Hitting his face was still very painful. The weather changes so quickly. Xiao Dao, is there any place to take shelter from the rain? The cavalryman beside him hastily said, Young master, take shelter from the rain? There are only some mountain villages. About 3 li ahead there is a village. We can go there to take shelter from the rain. However, young master, third master is leading a large group of people and horses. They shouldn't be much faster than us. I estimate that they are only about 20 to 30 li away. How about we run a little longer and rest when we reach third master's side? That's fine, we will run there in one breath, Hong Jinjie replied. The horses' hooves trampled, splashing muddy water. The more than 100 riders lowered their heads and madly ran. Ho-hoo, the violent wind raged and the torrential rain was blown up. The withered branches and withered leaves on the mountain were also blown down, causing the sky to darken. Xiao! A deep and sharp sound rang out. A ray of light shot out from the mountain and penetrated the head of a White Horse Battalion mounted bandit who was running at the back. Ah! A bloody hole appeared on the forehead of this mounted bandit who was wearing a helmet. Fresh blood gushed out, but the face of this mounted bandit was instantly washed by the torrential rain. This mounted bandit's eyes widened, and then his entire body softened. He leaned backwards and fell off his horse. This corpse rolled on the ground, splashing muddy water. In the violent storm, who among these mounted bandits would turn their head to look back? Moreover, the sound of a mounted bandit rolling on the ground could not be heard in the torrential rain. Xiao! Another stone was thrown to the ground. Another hole appeared on the head of another mounted bandit. Fresh blood mixed with brain matter gushed out, and another corpse fell off his horse. Each stone took away the lives of mounted bandits one after another. Hey, Sanzi, let me make a deal with you. You run faster first. As he spoke, this mounted bandit turned his head to take a glance and roared, Didn't you hear what I told you? This mounted bandit's eyes suddenly widened. On the muddy ground far behind him, there was a corpse every 3 to 4 zhang. The corpses lying in the mud caused his face to instantly turn pale. There was actually not a single living person behind him. Young master! A mournful voice streaked across the sky. Pft! A hole also appeared on his forehead. All the mounted bandits were alarmed. Everyone turned their heads to look, only to see the mounted bandit who shouted also powerlessly fall off his horse and roll into the mud. "Stop!" Hong Jinjie roared. Everyone pulled the reins and stopped their horses. More than 100 people gathered together in panic. "Young master, it's a concealed weapon, a concealed weapon. They were all shot in the head by a concealed weapon," a mounted bandit hastily shouted. At this moment, another stone was shot from the Great Yen Mountain to the side. Peng! It directly shot through the head of a mounted bandit who was beside Hong Jinjie. Pierced through in one hit. That mounted bandit couldn't even speak. He could only widen his eyes in fear as he rolled to the ground. Immediately, the mounted bandits were panicking. Poochie! The blood that shot out from the head of the dead mounted bandit splashed onto the face of the young master, Hong Jinjie. Hong Jinjie's entire body trembled and his heart quivered. He hastily looked towards the Great Yen Mountain and thought to himself, "It was too fast. I couldn't even react to that concealed weapon. If this concealed weapon didn't hit Xiao Dao's head but my head instead, wouldn't I be dead?" Hong Jinjie's heart began to fear. He didn't want to die. He still had a lot of money and women to enjoy. How could he be willing to die? "Young master, we are just going to be his targets." A mounted bandit shouted, "Let's run!" "Yes, we." Hong Jinjie clenched his teeth and was about to give the order. "Pooh!" The stone penetrated the head of the mounted bandit who spoke. Seeing this scene, Hong Jinjie's heart violently trembled. Immediately, some mounted bandits collapsed. "Let's run." 3 mounted bandits didn't care about the young master and immediately flew away. Pooh! 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 The 3 stones were like 3 lightning bolts that penetrated the heads of the 3 bandits. The 3 of them fell to the ground with a loud bang. In the Great Yen Mountain, Ting Qingshan was half squatting on the ground like a statue. His eyes were staring into the distance. Each of his hands was holding a stone. There were 2 piles of stones on the ground. Ting Qingshan could easily pick up the stones on the ground. With Ting Qingshan's hand speed, how could these people escape? Escape! Ting Qingshan, who had been half squatting and motionless, slightly moved his left and right hand. 2 stones streaked across the sky and touched the ground. 2 more stones appeared in Ting Qingshan's hands and he quickly shot out another stone. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was equivalent to a heavy sniper rifle that could shoot 2 or 3 shots per second. The 3 corpses rolled on the ground. It was as if Hong Jinjie's heart had been ruthlessly smashed 3 times. Hong Jinjie looked at the Great Yen Mountain and shouted while suppressing his fear, "I know you! You are the one who caused the death of my father and killed my martial brother, right? Tell me, what do you want in order to let us go? Everything can be discussed." His senior martial brother had been killed by a stone. Master Hong Si risked his life to be a stone, which was why Wang Taizhan seized the opportunity to kill him. "The Iron Mountain Gang is here for revenge," a mounted bandit shouted in fear. "It's the Iron Mountain Gang!" The great master's weapon was destroyed by this hidden weapon. Waves of panicked voices resounded from the group of mounted bandit. An invisible enemy was too terrifying. Hong Jinjie's face was drenched in rainwater, but he could feel cold sweat dripping down his face. He looked at the Great Yen Mountain in front of him, and the fear in his heart made his mind a little chaotic. Chapter 73. If we don't run, we will die. Everyone together, a mounted gangster shouted. "Pooh!" His head was shot and he fell from his horse. The mounted gangster beside him had his helmet pierced. Hong Jinjie, who was already afraid, couldn't help but tremble when he saw this scene. His heart twitched and his legs became weak. He had been under the protection of Master Hong Si all these years. When did Hong Jinjie, the young master, fight against a truly powerful expert? "What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I can't die, I can't die!" Hong Zhenjie felt that he couldn't breathe. He wiped the rainwater off his face and stared at the great Yin Mountain with his teeth clenched. He never thought that the great Yin Mountain could make him feel fear. He didn't know when another hidden weapon would be shot from the great Yin Mountain. Fear. Not only was Hong Zhenjie afraid, but the other mounted gangsters were also on the verge of collapse. If we don't run, we will die. A fearful voice sounded and 7 mounted gangsters immediately fled. Pooh! Pooh! 7 stones streaked across the sky. Within a breath's time, the 7 mounted gangsters didn't even run 5 zhang before they fell from their horses. Don't run, running means death. A mounted gangster immediately shouted. Indeed, all the mounted gangsters who ran and even those who shouted, "Run," were all killed. Each of the mounted gangsters fearfully stayed where they were. No one dared to run anymore. Running meant death. What should we do? What should we do, young master? He will kill us all, young master. Everyone placed their hopes on this young master. This young master, who was known as the second expert of the White Horse Gang. All of you, shut up! Hong Zhenjie angrily shouted. Being strong didn't mean that one's mental fortitude was good. Even his martial brother, who was almost as strong as him, was killed without any resistance. Even Master Hong Si, who was much stronger than him, lost his weapon. Hong Zhenjie clearly knew that he couldn't escape this fatal hidden weapon. Don't be noisy, young master is thinking of a solution. A mounted gangster loudly shouted. Suddenly, a mounted gangster jumped off his horse and hid behind it. At the same time, he shouted, "Everyone get off your horses and use the cyan-bristled horses to block. That way, the Iron Mountain Gang won't be able to kill us." Following their example, a large number of mounted gangsters quickly dismounted and hid behind their horses, not daring to show their heads. It's better now. Hong Zhenjie breathed a sigh of relief. Hidden weapon expert? My cyan mane treading on snow horse has strong bones and 2 layers of heavy armor to protect it. No matter how powerful that expert is, it is impossible for him to shoot through the treading snow horse's body and then kill me. Not only did Hong Zhenjie think this way, but the other mounted bandits also thought the same way. In the Great Yin Mountain, Ting Qingshan saw this scene and couldn't help but sneer coldly. They think that horses don't know fear? Ting Qingshan was very clear that if he used his full strength, after the stone pierced through the warhorse, he would be able to kill the horse gang behind the warhorse. But that was too much of a burden on the wrist. Ting Qingshan grabbed a handful of stones in each of his hands. The horses have run away. Let's see what you guys can do. Ting Qingshan threw 2 handfuls of stones towards the direction of the mounted gangsters. Young master, what do you think we should do now? The group of mounted gangsters hid behind the warhorses and began to discuss. Hong Zhenjie was in a safe environment, so he could think normally. At this moment, a nearby mounted gangster shouted, "Young master, of the 12 people that we just recruited, none of them died. They don't have the protection of heavy armor. It should be easier for that expert of the Iron Mountain Gang to kill them than for me to kill us." The group of mounted gangsters all noticed this phenomenon. Not a single one of them died, but we've lost 43 brothers. A mounted gangster shouted. Although these 12 people also wanted to join the White Horse Battalion, they hadn't really interacted with each other. The other mounted gangsters also didn't have much brotherly feelings towards them. Young master, does that expert of the Iron Mountain Gang only kill us who destroyed the Iron Mountain Gang and not kill them? A mounted gangster asked. Yes. Hong Zhenjie coldly glanced at the 12 people and agreed with this statement. At this moment, Xiao! 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 A large number of stones were crazily thrown out from the Great Yin Mountain. Each stone directly pierced through the heavy armor of the horses and shot into their bodies. There were also 2 unlucky war horses that had their heads pierced by the stones. The neighing of the horses resounded. The horses' hooves kicked furiously. The pain of having their bodies pierced by the stones caused the war horses to madly gallop. The mounted gangsters couldn't catch them at all. There were even a few mounted gangsters who grabbed the reins and were dragged to the ground by the war horses. Shio! 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 Another 3 stones were thrown. 3 mounted gangsters who were dragged away by the war horses had their heads pierced through. They died on the spot and fresh blood flowed out. After hiding behind the horse and feeling safe, Hong Zhenjie heaved a sigh of relief. However, he discovered that the war horses beside him were galloping away. Hong Zhenjie was so anxious that he actually grabbed a corpse on the ground and used it to block in front of him. They had just seen hope, but now the war horses had run away. Their hope was shattered, and this made the mounted gangsters even more afraid. Many mounted gangsters imitated Hong Zhenjie and grabbed the corpse to block in front of them. "Young master, let's fight our way to the mountain. You idiot, do you know where that person is on the mountain? We were all killed before we could even reach the mountain. All of you shut up." The frightened Hong Zhenjie suddenly shouted angrily. The mounted gangsters all shut up. At this moment, "Let's run! That expert from the Iron Mountain gang won't kill us." A strong man holding a long spear immediately ran. He was one of the 12 people that the White Horse Battalion had just recruited. Immediately, the other 11 people, who were still frightened, also ran. "Stop them!" Hong Zhenjie shouted angrily. "Want to escape?" There were also mounted gangsters in the surroundings, and they kicked the running man to the ground. Of the 12 people, only 8 managed to escape. The other 4 were intercepted. Indeed, Ting Qingshan didn't kill those 8 people. "Young master, I beg you to let me go. I still have a wife and a child." A strong man knelt down and kowtowed. "I, your father, am suffering here, and you want to escape safely?" The young master Hong Zhenjie was very aggrieved. "The few of you, unless I, your father, leave this place alive, none of you should even think about leaving. Forcing them to die with him? Bastard!" The 4 people who were intercepted gnashed their teeth, and their hearts were filled with extreme hatred. However, around them, there was a mounted gangster with a long spear pressed against their throats, making them unable to move. Pooh! 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 4 consecutive sounds rang out, and the head of the mounted gangster guarding the 4 people was pierced. The 4 people watched in shock as the mounted gangster beside them suddenly collapsed, but they were immediately overjoyed. Following the first person's escape, the other 3 also spread their legs and recklessly ran. "Let's also run." 2 mounted gangsters actually followed the 4 people and ran. 2 stones streaked across the sky, and with 2 trails of blood, 2 bodies suddenly collapsed. Running meant death. If he didn't escape, he would only be waiting for death. Under the torrential rain, these 90 mounted gangsters were about to go crazy. "Brothers, let's kill together and kill that guy." A mounted gangster grabbed a corpse to block his way and frantically shouted. However, with a "pew" sound, a stone brushed past the corpse and pierced through his throat. This mounted gangster also died. What do you want in order to let us go?" A mounted gangster collapsed and frantically shouted towards the Great Yen Mountain. The young master Hong Zhenjie's mental fortitude couldn't compare to most of the mounted gangsters. "If I stay here, I will definitely die. I will definitely die. I can't escape, I can't escape." Hong Zhenjie's entire body trembled, and his eyes reddened. Hong Zhenjie faced the Great Yen Mountain and shouted himself hoarse. "What do you want? What do you want? Tell me, I will give you everything. I will give you everything." However, there were still crazy mounted gangsters. "Iron Mountain gang bastards, even if I die, my 8,000 brothers of the White Horse Gang will avenge me." A sturdy mounted gangster fiercely roared. "Shut up!" Hong Zhenjie suddenly turned his head and roared at the mounted gangster. The mounted gangster blankly stared at him and immediately became angry. "Young master, at worst we will just die. What are you afraid of?" "You shut up." Hong Zhenjie slapped the mounted gangster and flipped him over. Haha, this is the young master of the White Horse Gang. Haha. A deep and resounding voice suddenly reverberated between heaven and earth. Even the sound of the torrential rain couldn't cover it. All of the mounted gangsters immediately quieted down. This voice belonged to the concealed weapons expert hidden in the mountain. Yes, I am the young master of the White Horse Gang. Hong Jinjie hastily said. Tell me, how will you let me go? Just tell me. You will definitely die today. The deep and resounding voice resounded between heaven and earth. Hong Jinjie's complexion instantly paled. No, no. However, the other mounted gangsters may not necessarily die. The voice continued to resound. Many of the other mounted gangsters were overjoyed. As long as you can kill this young master, Hong Jinjie, I will spare your lives. If you help Hong Jinjie, you will definitely die. The voice resounded between heaven and earth, causing the mounted gangsters to panic. Kill the young master? Who in the White Horse Gang would dare to kill the young master? However, at this moment of life and death, many mounted gangsters looked at each other. What do you want? Hong Jinjie was startled and angry. Brothers. A mounted gangster roared, at worst we will just die. Do you think that the bastard from the Iron Mountain Gang will let you go so easily? Brothers, there is no second path today. Kill this Hong Jinjie. If this Hong Jinjie doesn't die, we will die. Immediately, a mounted gangster roared. Immediately, more than half of the mounted gangsters wielded their long spears and charged towards Hong Jinjie. However, there was still a portion of mounted gangsters who had been trained by Master Hong Si since childhood. They were absolutely loyal and frantically protected Hong Jinjie, and in turn killed these traitors. Immediately, chaos ensued. Life after life was lost in the midst of killing each other. Fresh blood flowed on the ground. Under the washing of the torrential rain, the surrounding area was dyed red. You want to kill me? Go die. Hong Jinjie was worthy of being called the second expert of the White Horse Gang. He continuously killed more than 10 mounted gangsters that charged towards him. At this moment, there were only 20 to 30 mounted gangsters still alive. It seems that I still have to act. The deep and resounding voice resounded. Pooh, 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 pooh. A large number of stones streaked across the sky. One by one, the mounted gangsters were killed, including those that attacked Hong Jinjie. In just a moment, only the young master, Hong Jinjie, was left alive among the mounted gangsters. Hong Jinjie grasped his long saber and looked around. The ground was littered with corpses. Of the 146 mounted gangsters, he was the only one left. Hong Jinjie suddenly widened his eyes and roared towards the great Yin Mountain. It's you! You purposely let us kill each other so that you would waste less energy, am I right? At this moment, Hong Jinjie finally understood. You're so smart. The originally deep and resounding voice suddenly became so familiar. This voice, where have I heard it before? Hong Jinjie frowned. He saw a figure jump down from the great Yin Mountain and land on the muddy ground, walking towards Hong Jinjie. Hong Jinjie withstood the torrential rain and carefully looked at this person. He really wanted to see who was this terrifying concealed weapon expert that was like a nightmare. Otherwise, even if he died, he wouldn't be satisfied. It's you. Hong Jinjie widened his eyes in shock. Ting Qingshan was unarmed and walked towards Hong Jinjie step by step. It's you who killed my martial brother. It's you who caused the death of my father. So it's you, Ting Qingshan. Hong Jinjie's eyes were filled with fear as he couldn't help but retreat. End of 3rd chapter. Tomato asks everyone to subscribe for the first VIP chapter. It's almost 10,000 subscribers. At the same time, Tomato also asks for monthly votes. Divine Armaments are very crazy in soliciting vote. However, Tomato believes in the strength of his brothers. Let's all work hard and rush to first place. Isn't it just 1 or 200 votes? How many votes a person can get depends on his brothers. Chapter 74. The torrential rain made Hong Zhenjie's entire body drenched. His entire body was ice cold, but at this moment, his heart was even colder. Ting Qingshan, you are a magnanimous person, please let me go. Hong Zhenjie swallowed his saliva and anxiously said while retreating, I will divorce my wife and marry your sister. Your sister will be my White Horse Gang's first madam. I will give up the position of first master to you. I beg you, please spare me. Hong Zhenjie knelt down with a thud. Ting Qingshan looked down at Hong Zhenjie, who was kowtowing on the ground and begging for mercy. I beg. Hong Zhenjie's mouth was still talking, but suddenly, a cold light suddenly lit up and pierced towards Ting Qingshan's chest. Go to hell. Hong Zhenjie's face turned red, as if he had gone crazy. In fact, when Ting Qingshan appeared, Hong Zhenjie understood that Ting Qingshan would not spare his life, because he already knew the murderer's true identity. If the opponent did not appear, Hong Zhenjie would still have a chance to save his life. Therefore, Hong Zhenjie begged for mercy in order to make Ting Qingshan relax his vigilance and display his strongest attack. He must kill Ting Qingshan. If not Ting Qingshan's death, then Hong Zhenjie's death would be his. Clang! Ting Qingshan's right hand clamped the long saber with 2 fingers and coldly looked at Hong Zhenjie. Hong Zhenjie's little tricks were child's play to Ting Qingshan, who had experienced the training of a modern super assassin. What Ting Qingshan wanted to do was to watch the opponent struggle and destroy the opponent's hope again and again until the opponent collapsed and fell into despair. Hong Zhenjie's complexion changed. He pulled 2 or 3 times but was unable to move it. Ridiculous! Ting Qingshan's right hand moved and the long saber that was clamped by him slashed across Hong Zhenjie's neck. Pooh! Blood sprayed out like a mist. Hong Zhenjie's eyes widened as if he could not believe that he had died like this. You. He wanted to say something but quickly fell to the ground powerlessly and his eyes dimmed. After killing Hong Zhenjie, Ting Qingshan's heart did not fluctuate at all. Ting Qingshan walked to the corpses and checked them one by one, just in case someone was still alive. After checking all 146 corpses, Ting Qingshan left quietly in the storm. In the central room of Ting Qingshan's house in Tingjia village, Ting Yunlong, Ting Yongfan, his wife, and Ting Qingyu were all waiting anxiously. Will something happen to Qingshan? Yuan Lan was very worried. Just be quiet for a while. Stop talking here. Qingshan will be fine. Ting Yongfan scolded. It was rare for Ting Yongfan to scold Yuan Lan, but this time, it was clear that Ting Yongfan was very worried. Stop talking. Chief Ting Yunlong frowned and shouted. Qingyu sat quietly in the corner of the wall. She didn't make a sound and only stared outside. Whoosh! A gust of wind suddenly blew in the central room, and a figure appeared in the central room. Father, mother. The tall and familiar figure caused the 4 people in the central room to stand up in surprise. Qingyu, who was sitting in the corner, immediately rushed into Ting Qingshan's arms and hugged Ting Qingshan. She buried her face in Ting Qingshan's chest and cried, I knew brother would come back safely. Brother! She cried as she spoke. Little you, don't you see that brother isn't injured at all? Don't cry. Ting Qingshan smiled and patted Qingyu's head twice. Qingyu also liked Ting Qingshan's habitual action. She sobbed a few times and stopped crying. Qingshan, are you all right? Mother Yuan Lan also looked around Ting Qingshan. Why are you still asking? Didn't Qingshan say that he was all right? Ting Yongfan shouted. At the same time, his gaze was carefully observing Ting Qingshan's body. Ting Qingshan felt the concern in his relative's eyes and words. He felt warmth in his heart and silently said, No matter what, I won't allow others to hurt them. If someone threatened his family, Ting Qingshan would kill them by any means necessary. It was fine if he didn't make a move, but if he did, he would definitely kill them all and not leave any future troubles. Qingshan, the White Horse Camp. Grandfather Ting Yunlong said. There is no white horse camp. Ting Qingshan sat down and said. The people in the central room were startled. Qingshan. Ting Yongfan was shocked. You mean, the people of the white horse camp? They are all dead. Ting Qingshan said calmly. Not a single one was left? Ting Yunlong also didn't dare to believe it. Ting Qingshan nodded and admitted. Ting Yongfan and Ting Yunlong looked at each other, unable to conceal their shock. Although they already knew that Ting Qingshan went to kill the young master and the people of the White Horse Camp, when they heard that the E-City's White Horse Gang's most elite troops, the White Horse Camp, were all killed, they still felt shocked. Qingshan, the White Horse Camp was killed by you. Then, does the White Horse Gang know? Ting Yunlong asked. After all, the White Horse Gang had 8,000 core disciples. Although they lost a portion of their disciples to the Iron Mountain Gang, they still had a large number of people. Moreover, the White Horse Gang still had many minions. What could Ting Qingshan do by himself if the thousands of men were to charge over majestically? Grandfather, don't worry. As long as you don't say anything, no one will know. Ting Qingshan said confidently. Ting Yunlong looked at Ting Yongfan, Yuan Lan, and Qing Yu and said, You must remember, this matter cannot be spread. Yes, even if you beat me to death, I won't say anything. Qing Yu nodded. Don't worry, no one will suspect me. In a few days you will know. Ting Qingshan was very confident. This time, he let the other 12 men go. First, the 12 men didn't have many wronged souls in their hands. Second, Ting Qingshan wanted to borrow their mouths to spread the news in E-City. After all, except for Hong Jinjie, the other mounted gangsters, including the 12 men, all thought that the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons experts came to take revenge. The rainstorm came and went quickly. In less than half an hour, the rain stopped. The White Horse Gang's majestic army of thousands of people began to pack their bags and armor, preparing to set off. Behind the White Horse Gang's large group was a large manor. The clansmen in the manor looked at the White Horse Gang's troops in fear. On the road, there was a wooden chair, and the third master, who was draped in an animal skin robe, sat there. Still not here. The third master frowned. Third master, the young master is leading the White Horse Battalion to recruit new people. I reckon that he is hiding from the rain outside. A mounted gangster beside him said. The third master said, The rain has stopped. We have waited for a while, so Jinjie and the others should have arrived. The mounted gangster thought for a moment. Third master, how about I bring some brothers to take a look? The third master nodded and waved his hand, saying, Yes, you take a dozen men and go back along the road. Go and find out where the young master and the others are. Yes, third master. The mounted gangster immediately waved his hand and called the dozen mounted gangsters. Then, he rode his horse and galloped away. Many mounted gangsters of the White Horse Gang had already mounted their horses. Some of the mounted gangsters began to set off towards their lair. Third master, third master! From far away, a mournful cry sounded. The third master, who was quietly waiting on the chair, couldn't help but change his complexion when he heard the mournful cry. He suddenly stood up and roared, What are you howling for? What happened? Dead. The young master is dead. The entire White Horse Battalion is dead. The mournful cry from far away caused the large group of mounted gangsters of the White Horse Gang, who were originally bustling and preparing to leave, to suddenly stop. All of the mounted gangsters quieted down and turned their heads to look at the dozen or so mounted gangsters who were shouting loudly. The dozen or so mounted gangsters all had a frightened expression. They hastily shouted, All of them are dead. Not a single one is alive. The third master's complexion greatly changed. Brothers, follow me! The third master madly roared. He directly jumped onto the scarlet flame horse at the side and whipped the horse. Hiya! The scarlet flame horse madly galloped forward. Go! A large group of mounted gangsters followed behind the third master and galloped forward. The White Horse Battalion is dead? The mounted gangsters who received this news were completely stunned. Soon after, each and every one of them hastily roared and galloped forward together with the third master. The momentum of the galloping army of thousands of men and horses frightened the clansmen of the nearby village. Did you hear that? The young master of the White Horse Gang and the White Horse Battalion are all dead. Who killed them? Who knows? But look, everyone in the White Horse Gang seems to have gone crazy. Who can stop this magnificent army of thousands of men and horses? Looking at the majestic galloping of mounted gangsters, like a crazed flood, this momentum really made people tremble with fear. The majestic troops of the White Horse Gang quickly arrived at the location of the large number of corpses. Nay, pulling the reins, the warhorses stopped one by one. The third master jumped down from the scarlet flame horse and galloped towards the corpses. Mud splashed everywhere. The mounted gangsters of the White Horse Battalion were all wearing heavy armor, but not a single one of them was alive. The large number of mounted gangsters behind were all stunned. The third master's complexion was also very unsightly. He roared, "Quickly, see if there is anyone still breathing." Saying this, the third master quickly went to check the corpses one by one. Soon, the third master found the corpse of the young master, Hong Jinjie. Hong Jinjie's eyes were still wide open, and he died with a remaining grievance. "Third master, the people of the White Horse Battalion are killing each other," a mounted gangster fearfully yelled. Indeed, some of the mounted gangsters still had a spear pierced through their throat. It was a group of mounted gangsters that were killing each other. Their heads were pierced through, and even their helmets were pierced through. These are all of them were pierced through by hidden weapons. A mounted gangster yelled. The third master's face was calm, and he didn't say a word. "It's the Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert. It's the hidden weapon expert that sent the great master's weapon flying. He came to take revenge." A mounted gangster said. "Third master, we have to take revenge for the young master." Third master, the surrounding mounted gangster leaders all looked at the third master. After the young master died, the third master had the highest position in the White Horse Gang. "It's a hidden weapon. Wang He, my martial nephew, and my big brother all died because of that hidden weapon." The third master's voice was low. More than half of the people of the White Horse Battalion were killed by that hidden weapon. As for killing each other, that was just a fake scene created by the murderer to make us have wild suspicions. This murderer is the Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert that killed Wang He and indirectly killed my big brother. I reckon that Wang Taizhan is also involved. The surrounding mounted gangsters all agreed with this statement. "Third master, what do you think we should do?" The mounted gangster leaders all looked at the third master. The third master coldly said, "No matter what, we have to first find that Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert. Once we find him, our White Horse Gang will dismember his body into 10,000 pieces at all costs. We will offer sacrifice to the souls of my big brother and Jinjie. Dismember his body into 10,000 pieces." The mounted gangster leaders all roared. The third master's face contained a murderous aura, but he was secretly delighted in his heart. "Ha, the heavens are helping me. This Hong Jinjie is a reckless boy, and he still wants to be the great master? Yesterday, Hong Jinjie escaped a calamity, but I didn't expect that he would die today. From now on, I am the great master of the White Horse Gang. Revenge? That hidden weapon expert was able to kill the entire White Horse Battalion. Isn't going to take revenge, just asking for trouble?" Although his mouth was shouting about revenge, the third master didn't think so. What did the revenge of Master Hong Si and Hong Jinjie have to do with him? In the White Horse Gang, the third master, who was the most low-key and the most hard-working, was actually an extremely sinister and ruthless person. However, Master Hong Si was still alive, so he didn't dare to do anything. Master Hong Si died yesterday. Even if Hong Jinjie didn't die today, the third master would still find an opportunity to kill Hong Jinjie in the future. From now on, E-City is my world. Chapter 75. The next day, the sun was high up in the sky, and the training field of Tingjia village was very lively. Hurry up, hurry up! 3 wagons pulled by horses entered Tingjia village, one after another. These wagons were filled with all kinds of iron and other materials. The materials that Tingjia village needed to forge 200 pieces of heavy armor had finally arrived. Qingshan, haha, your Tingjia village's business is not small. These iron and other materials weigh more than 10,000 jin. I brought 3 large wagons to transport the goods. The one who spoke, De Pang, was wearing a large yellow robe and had a big belly. He walked over and greeted loudly with a smile. Uncle Li Er, our business is small. It can't be compared to your trading company. Ting Qingshan also said with a smile. Li Er held a jade pipe and took 2 puffs. He smiled and said, Yes, Qingshan, I'm going to find your grandfather. You go ahead. Li Er also knew of Ting Qingshan's position in Tingjia village. He also heard that Ting Qingshan was strong, so he specially came to greet him. Qingshan, the materials have arrived. The clan can start forging heavy armor. Ting Qinghu, who was beside him, was slightly excited. Yes, with 200 pieces of heavy armor, the men who have cultivated inner strength in Tingjia village will be able to fight against dozens of bandits. If they are used well, the effect will be even greater. Ting Qingshan was very clear that although the clansmen had cultivated inner strength, their bodies were not invulnerable to swords and spears. Even if they cultivated inner strength, they could at most kill a few people before being killed by the other bandit. However, once they had heavy armor, they would not be afraid of ordinary people's swords and sabers. Then, they would be able to truly display the attacking power of an inner strength expert. Soon, the people from the trading company left Tingjia village with the money. At noon, some women who were busy working in the fields came back. Some women entered the village and shouted. Many people who liked to watch the fun went up to hear what was going on. Because the surrounding fields were connected to other villages, the most informed people were these women. The young master of the White Horse Gang, as well as the White Horse Battalion, were all killed. The women chattered one by one. What? Some of the men who were practicing the tiger fist or spear art originally disdained to listen to these words, but now they ran over. It's true. That young master and the entire White Horse Battalion are all dead. They were killed by the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert. How did you know? Is this news really true? Didn't the White Horse Gang come here yesterday to recruit people into the White Horse Battalion? Just yesterday. At that time, there were people from Greatly Village who were recruited. These words were said by the man from Greatly Village. The concealed weapons expert of the Iron Mountain Gang would take revenge, but he would not kill the innocent. I didn't kill all 12 of them. Immediately, more clansmen rushed over. Qingshan, the young master and the White Horse Battalion were all killed by someone. Let's go and listen. Ting Qinghu couldn't help but be surprised and ran over. Ting Qingshan watched this scene with a smile. The mountain men were simple and honest. The 12 men definitely had a stomach full of resentment towards the White Horse Gang, but they were grateful towards the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert. They were lucky enough to keep their lives. When they returned to their respective villages, they would naturally talk about this matter. This kind of explosive news spread at an astonishing speed. It's good that they died. That concealed weapons expert was really powerful. The concealed weapons couldn't even be seen, but the White Horse Battalion's mounted gangster's head was shot through. One by one, the clansmen sighed. Ting Qingshan relaxed. He smiled and turned around. Let's go home for lunch. The White Horse Battalion and the young master were killed by the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert. This was already a fact in E-City, and no one doubted it. Even the White Horse Gang offered a reward. Whoever could capture this concealed weapons expert would be rewarded with 10,000 silver taels. This reward from the White Horse Gang confirmed that the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert was the murderer. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During the cold winter, heavy snow swirled in the air. In the central room of Ting Qinghu's house, the two brothers, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu, sat opposite each other and drank wine. "Tsk, tsk, tsk. Qingshan, I didn't expect this. That Wang Taizhan, such a powerful expert, actually died in the hands of the White Horse Gang's Master Lu San." Ting Qinghu sighed. "In the past, this Master Lu San came to my Tingjia village to collect annual tribute many times, but I didn't realize that he was such a powerful person. A dog that bites doesn't bark. A truly ruthless person can't be seen from the outside." Ting Qingshan drank a mouthful of wine and said, "The White Horse Gang's current Great Master was the former Third Master, surnamed Lu. As for his real name, only a few people knew. Because he was previously the Third Master, the outside world called him Master Lu San. This Master Lu San not only didn't lower the White Horse Gang's position in half a year, but it became even more stable. The White Horse Gang once again claimed to have 8,000 disciples. There were also people who said that the White Horse Gang's true members already exceeded 10,000. Of course, the White Horse Gang claimed to have 8,000 disciples. This Master Lu San is the best at using crafty plots and schemes. A few months ago, wasn't the Baldy Head Gang also very insolent? However, in the blink of an eye, the Baldy Head Gang's great master died on a woman's belly." Ting Qinghu continued, "As for the Willow Water Gang, many people in E-City thought that they would join forces with the Baldy Head Gang to destroy the White Horse Gang. Who would have thought that the Willow Water Gang would actually change sides and surrender to the White Horse Gang? Even that Wang Taizhan was shot to death by 10,000 arrows." Ting Qingshan only smiled after hearing this. "I always thought that Wang Taizhan would ruthlessly retaliate against the White Horse Gang. Who would have thought that his little life would be over?" Ting Qinghu shook his head and sighed. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Cousin, actually, when that Master Lu San only brought a small number of people to our Tingjia village and exempted our Tingjia village's annual tribute and called me brother, I knew that E-City would still belong to him in the end." Ting Qingshan also admired this Master Lu San. This was because Master Lu San understood the weaknesses of human nature very well. In the past half a year, the prosperous Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang were defeated from the inside. None of them required a large number of people to kill. Humph, that Master Lu San is tactful. Otherwise, if he brought people to our Tingjia village, we would kill as many as he came. Ting Qinghu smiled confidently. "Now that you mention it, I think of the guy known as the #1 expert in E-City." Ting Qingshan also smiled. Actually, in the past half a year of turmoil, the forces of E-City's bandits went through 3 stages. The first stage was the rise of heroes. After the death of Master Hong Si, Li Yenshan, who was known as the #1 expert in E-City, established the Yenshan Gang and quickly rose to power. At that time, it became the only gang that could contend against the White Horse Gang. Many people thought highly of the Yenshan Gang. In the second stage, the Yenshan Gang was destroyed, and the Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang rose together, becoming extremely powerful. The forces of bandits in E-City could be said to be 3 legs of a tripod. In the third stage, the White Horse Gang subdued the Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang. Once again, the White Horse Gang became the sole power, and no one dared to challenge their position. Among these 3 stages, the Yen Mountain Gang at the beginning had the most hope. That Li Yenshan was indeed an expert. He collected the annual tribute, but who would have thought that Tingjia village would not pay a single copper coin? This great master was furious. He immediately led nearly 3,000 men to Tingjia village, wanting to destroy the Tingjia village, which was widely known for its bravery, in order to deter the other villages. The great master even claimed to be the #1 expert in E-City, and even Wang Taizhan admitted defeat. When he killed his way to Tingjia village, he saw many clansmen wearing heavy armor. Instead of being shocked, he was happy and laughed out loud. "Haha, you've sent me, Li Yenshan, heavy armor." Immediately after, he smashed open the gate of Tingjia village with his wolf-tooth mace. At the same time, behind him were 100 heavy-armored mounted gangsters. There were also nearly 3,000 ordinary mounted gangsters. Who would have thought, when the real battle began, a terrifying scene occurred. The heavy-armored mounted gangsters under Li Yenshan's command were only chosen to have strong bodies. As for the Tingjia village clansmen wearing heavy armor, they were all experts with inner strength. Long spears infused with inner strength stabbed out, directly piercing through the bodies of the bandits, who were wearing ordinary heavy armor. The 50 clansmen wearing superior heavy armor were like meat grinders. They were not afraid of ordinary swords and easily killed a large number of mounted gangsters. Behind them, there were other clansmen wearing ordinary heavy armor assisting them. In addition, the gate was only so wide, so the number of mounted gangsters that could rush in was limited. There were also a large number of spikes on the ground, so the war horses could not gallop, so they could only fight on the ground. It was one-sided. The great Yen Mountain, who was known as the #1 expert of E-City, was anxious. He actually wanted to single-handedly kill the 50 inner strength experts of Tingjia village. Just as he was about to make a move, Ting Qingshan made his move. Ting Qingshan used facts to tell Li Yenshan that he, Li Yenshan, was not the #1 expert of E-City. Li Yenshan died. The morale of the mounted gangsters was low, but the madness in the bones of the mounted gangsters made them want to retaliate. However, the heavy-armored clansmen of Tingjia village, led by clansmen with inner strength, slaughtered hundreds of mounted gangsters. The remaining mounted gangsters fled in fear. In this battle, Tingjia village killed nearly 1,000 mounted gangsters. They also seized 100 heavy armors, making Tingjia village even more heavy armors. After this battle, Tingjia village became even more famous, and no mounted gangsters dared to collect the annual tribute. Master Lu San of the White Horse Gang even personally went to Tingjia village 3 days after the incident. He permanently exempted Tingjia village from the annual tribute and called Ting Qingshan brother. This Master Lu San has a sense of propriety. He knows who he can offend and who he can't. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Master Lu San had the intention to befriend Ting Qingshan. When Master Lu San unified the bandit forces in E-City, Ting Qingshan had also secretly attacked twice. Just these 2 times, the strength he displayed had already made Master Lu San fearful. Master Lu San knew who he couldn't offend. Yes, but Qingshan, now that the E-City bandit forces are settled, we should leave the village. Ting Qinghu suddenly felt a bit sad. Yes, it's time to go. Ting Qingshan sighed. 3 days later, in the morning, more than 2,000 people of Tingjia village gathered at the training field. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu led hundreds of strong men of the village to practice the Tiger Fist once again. Hundreds of people practicing the Tiger Fist together looked very imposing. Mother Yuan Lan and Sister Little Yu watched this scene with tears in their eyes. Because today, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu were leaving Tingjia village to join the Guiyuan sect. After a long time, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu each carried a bag. Their weapons were also disassembled and placed in the bag as the over 2,000 clansmen saw them off. Brother! Ting Qingyu hugged Ting Qingshan, unwilling to see her brother leave. Yuan Lan, who was at the side, couldn't help but cry. Ting Yongfan, who was at the side, patted his son's shoulder and said, "A man's ambition is to travel far. Qingshan is leaving to make a name for himself. don't cry." Although Ting Yongfan said this, his own eyes were red. "Little you, brother will come back to see you and father and mother in the future." Ting Qingshan lovingly patted Qingyu's head. "Brother, you must come back to see me," Qingyu said with tears flowing down her face. Ting Qingshan nodded solemnly. "Father, mother, take care." Ting Qingshan squeezed out a smile. "We know. You also have to take care of yourself." Ting Yongfan and Yuan Lan were very reluctant to part. Ting Qingshan was reluctant to part with his family. Ting Qinghu was also reluctant to part with his family. "Everyone, don't send us off." Ting Qinghu's eyes were red as he waved his hand. Under the blessings of the clansmen, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu finally carried their bags and left Tingjia village, embarking on their journey. P.S. 2 chapters completed. The second chapter of the story of the 9 cauldrons, "The Ting family has a son named Qingshan," ended. The third chapter of the story of the 9 cauldrons, "The commander of the Black Armored Corps," began. Chapter 76. The sky was as blue and clear as a fine porcelain plate. There were a few white clouds floating in the sky that were as white and soft as silk. The breeze blew, bringing with it a trace of the smell of blood. "Ha, Qingshan, these bandits are purely here to give us money." Qinghu laughed as he searched the corpses of the bandits on the ground. There were a total of 18 corpses around the road. The eyes of these corpses were either filled with horror or madness. At this moment, all of them were covered with blood and fell to the ground. These 18 bandits were a part of the bandit group that had just robbed and killed Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu. After Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu joined hands to kill so many bandits, and after they slaughtered the bandit leader, the other bandits were so scared that they scattered in all directions. "We didn't ride horses, and we were only carrying backpacks. It seems like we didn't bring any weapons. If those bandits didn't rob us, who would they rob?" Ting Qingshan laughed as he searched the corpses for gold and silver. "Qingshan, you don't say. Searching for bandits' silver is really satisfying." Qinghu laughed and said, "You're still the smart one. At first, I planned to travel as fast as possible and reach Jiangning County City in one day. If we were to travel like that, we probably wouldn't be able to get any silver." E-City wasn't far from Jiangning County City. Jiangning County City was to the east of E-City. When Ting Qingshan and the others set off, they didn't need to go around the Great Yin Mountain. They only needed to travel along the main road, which was about 300 li away. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu could reach this distance in one day. The Gui Yuan sect only accepts disciples in hot summer and cold winter. One is on the 12th of June, and the other is on the 6th of the 12th lunar month. Ting Qingshan stood up and counted the silver as he said, "We left on the morning of the 3rd day of the 12th lunar month. What's the rush? Otherwise, when we reach Jiangning County City, it would be a waste of money to stay in an inn." "Listen to you, Qingshan." "That's right." Qinghu counted the silver pieces in his hand and said proudly, "Qingshan, I have about 20 silver pieces here. What about you? That bandit leader should have a lot of silver, right?" "Yes, the bandit leader has the most silver. He has 3 silver ingots in his arms, and the rest of the minions have broken silver. I have more than 60 taels of silver in total." Ting Qingshan smiled and put the silver into the bag on his back. On the way, there were bandits who tried to rob and kill them. Killing the bandits and robbing them was also a very interesting thing. Ting Qinghu was not tired of it. "Haha, Qingshan, we've been eating, drinking, and having fun along the way for almost 3 days. I didn't spend any of the money I brought, and I even earned more than 300 taels." On the morning of the 3rd day of the 12th lunar month, the two left Tingjia village. Today was the 5th day of the 12th lunar month. Ting Qingshan and Bai Xiaochun had been wandering on the road for 3 days. They had eaten and drunk a lot. Roaming the world like this is really fun. Eating meat, drinking wine, and earning a lot of silver. I really want to play for a few more days, Ching Hu said with a smile. Although he said that, he understood that with his little strength, he would be finished if he encountered a powerful bandit. Ting Qingshan looked at him and said, "Tomorrow, the Gui Yuan sect will start to recruit people. If you miss it, you'll have to wait for another 6 months. Cousin, I'm not in a hurry to wait for half a year. If you really want to play, I'll accompany you. What do you think?" "I'm just saying." Ching Hu laughed. "Compared to playing, joining the Black Armored Corps is more honorable. Let's go. We'll arrive at Jiangning County City as soon as possible. We've never been here before, so we should take a good look," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Immediately, the two brothers carried their bags and walked eastward. In the evening, the sun was setting, and the western sky was covered with a large sunset glow. It was very beautiful. Two travel-worn young men carrying bags walked side by side. Occasionally, there would be people riding horses galloping past them. "Qingshan, we've arrived at Jiangning County City," Ching Hu cheered excitedly. Ting Qingshan looked at the ancient city in the distance. The city walls of Jiangning County City extended towards the north and south, and the end couldn't be seen. In this world, in the land of the 9 prefectures, there aren't many cities bigger than this county city. Ting Qingshan had some basic knowledge about the land of the 9 prefectures. The world was divided into 9 prefectures, and the biggest cities in each prefecture were the county cities. Of course, there were still cities bigger than the county cities, too. One was the royal city established by Emperor Yu when he unified the world, Yu City. The other was the royal city established by the heavenly emperor of Qin Mountains in the northwest of Yongzhou when he unified the world, Qin Imperial City. Yu City and Qin Imperial City were both the royal cities of the land of the 9 prefectures, so it wasn't strange that they occupied a large area. Other than these 2 royal cities, the other county cities were almost the same. For example, Jiangning County City was about 20 to 30 li long and wide, and the population of the county city was about 1 million. Different county cities would have some differences. Jiangning County City was the center of Jiangning County, and it was also close to the East Sea. The Yuyang Grand Canal passed through the city, and the city's commerce was extremely developed. Naturally, Jiangning County City was very fertile. In ancient times, it was very difficult to build a city that could accommodate 1 million people by relying on manpower alone. Ting Qingshan still remembered that in the ancient history of China, the largest city could only accommodate 1 million people. Even in the ancient history of China, there were very few super-large cities like the one in front of him. In the world that Ting Qingshan was living in, there were many county cities that could accommodate 1 million people in the land of the 9 prefectures. Legend has it that Yu City can accommodate 5 million people, and Qin Imperial City can accommodate 8 million people. These 2 royal cities don't have skyscrapers, and the population density is low. The area they occupy is even bigger than Shanghai and Beijing in my previous life. This is really inconceivable. Ting Qingshan was looking forward to the day when he would be able to see these 2 historical royal cities. While Ting Qingshan was thinking, he and Ching Hu arrived at the city gate. "There are so many people. Why are there so many people going out of the city?" Ching Hu exclaimed as he looked at the bustling crowd. There were people carrying loads, people pushing carts, and the majority of them were peddlers. These peddlers come to the county city to do business during the day and go home at night. It will take some time to rush back. After Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu paid the entrance fee, they finally stepped into the legendary Jiangning County City. The moment the 2 of them entered Jiangning County City, they were shocked. What a wide street! Ting Qingshan looked at the spacious street in front of him that was completely paved with neatly arranged bluestones. He was a bit shocked. This street can accommodate over 10 horses running side by side. It is at least 30 meters wide. Even some of the modern streets in his previous life weren't this wide. Qingshan, they say that the most prosperous street in Jiangning County is this street, right? Qinghu's eyes lit up. Right now, there are still many peddler stalls on both sides of the street. Let's go, let's have a good stroll. Qinghu was like a country bumpkin entering the county city, and his eyes were dazzled. As for Ting Qingshan, he was only occasionally surprised. After all, compared to the international metropolises in his previous life that had a population of over 10 million, this county city was far from it. However, the layout of this county city was magnificent, and it was built purely by manpower. This kind of grandeur, simplicity, and atmosphere made Ting Qingshan really like it. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu were holding roasted meat in their hands, and leisurely strolled around. The county city is really different. The fun and good food are much better than our e-city. Qinghu was very carefree. Soon after, he raised his head and saw a 3-story restaurant in the distance. This restaurant was completely made of wood, and there were exquisite carvings on the outer walls. With one look, one could tell that it was a top-notch luxurious restaurant. On the front door of the restaurant, there was a gold-plated signboard with 3 words written in flamboyant calligraphy: Canvassing Moon Restaurant. Qingshan, let's go in and eat once, how about it? Qinghu's eyes lit up. Ting Qingshan also knew that this kind of restaurant was very expensive. Normally, a small tavern would cost around half a tael of silver for a meal, but this restaurant was much more expensive. However, during the 3 days they were on the road, they had obtained several hundred taels of silver from the bandits. Okay, let's go take a look and see what the restaurants in this county city are like. As soon as they stepped into the first floor of the restaurant, a waiter immediately came up to greet them. Dear customers, the 2nd and 3rd floors of our Canvassing Moon restaurant are already full. There are only 2 tables left on the 1st floor. Which one would you like to choose? The waiter said enthusiastically. Ting Qingshan's gaze swept across and casually said, "The table by the window. Your business is really good." Qinghu exclaimed in admiration, then sat down with Ting Qingshan. The waiter immediately handed over a menu that had been written on it. "It really isn't just ordinarily expensive," Qinghu exclaimed in a low voice, then laughed. "However, it's really strong." The waiter said enthusiastically at the side, "Our Canvassing Moon restaurant is famous for having 12 flavors of blue-coiled fruits and 28 plates of wine. These 12 flavors of blue-coiled fruits and 28 plates of our Canvassing Moon restaurant's signature dishes to go with wine are all in the menu. Dear customers, you can take a look for yourselves. Looking at the 2 of you, you are also forthright men who like big meat and good wine. Our Canvassing Moon restaurant also has 3 thread meat strips, stir-fried pork loin. We can take a look for ourselves," Ting Qingshan said hastily. This waiter was extraordinarily fluent in naming dishes. Ting Qingshan and Qinghu were willing to spend the money they got from the bandit. In one breath, they ordered 8 dishes, 6 of which were meat dishes. They also ordered 2 bottles of good wine. After a rough calculation, they found that they had spent almost 20 taels of silver. If it was an ordinary villager, he would only earn this much in a year. The taste is really not bad. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but nod as he ate the delicacies. Ting Qinghu nodded repeatedly as he ate. Yes, yes. The meat is not bad and delicious. The wine is also pure and strong enough. Although the dishes of the Canvassing Moon restaurant were expensive, the taste was indeed extraordinary. Qingshan, look. Those who enter this restaurant are either rich or noble. Tsk. Ting Qinghu said with a smile. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. Just as the 2 of them were eating happily, a voice came from outside. What, it's full. A dissatisfied voice sounded. Today, I specially invited my brother to your Canvassing Moon restaurant. There are no private rooms on the 3rd floor, and the ordinary seats on the 1st and 2nd floors? Sir, it's full. The waiter wasn't annoyed at all. A white-robed nobleman stood at the entrance of the first floor. He looked inside casually and his gaze stopped on Ting Qingshan and Qinghu. After all, one's strength and status could be determined from the way he dressed and his temperament. These two brats, one of them has his back to me and I can't see him clearly. But the other one is boisterous and beaming with joy. It's obvious that he hasn't seen such a big scene before. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu didn't pay attention to the conversation at the entrance. The two of them ate and drank to their heart's content. They even looked at the night scenery outside through the window and chatted casually. "Sir." The waiter suddenly ran to the side of Ting Qingshan and Qinghu. Ting Qingshan raised his head. "Sir, I hope that the two of you can give a table to them. The price of your dishes will be covered by that, sir," the waiter said. "I don't know if the two of you can agree to this?" Qinghu raised his head and glared at the waiter while eating the meat in his mouth. He then sneered and glanced at the nobleman outside. "Covered by him? Motherf ****. It's easy to let us leave. Give us 1,000 taels of silver, and we two brothers will leave immediately. If he's stingy and can't bear to part with us, you can just tell him to get lost." Ting Qingshan held up his wine cup and drank a mouthful. He watched the development of the situation with a smile. Chapter 77. There were a total of 4 people at the entrance of the restaurant. The noble young master and a strong man with a stocky build and dressed in a green robe stood side by side. Behind them were 2 guards with swords and sabers. Hearing Ting Qinghu's words, the noble young master's face darkened. This was obviously not giving him face. "You two should quit while you're ahead," the noble young master said in a deep voice, "otherwise, humph." Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu didn't pay any attention to him. The waiter lowered his voice and persuaded 2 guests that young master is the second young master of the Wang family in the eastern city. He is also a disciple of the Gui Yuan sect. He is fine, but the one next to him is the centurion of the city guards of our Jiangning County, Master Li. He can send you two to prison with just a word. The centurion of the city guards? Ting Qinghu and Ting Qingshan looked at each other. Ting Qingshan laughed. He sat calmly on his seat and laughed. "Haha, rich young master? Bullshit, rich young master. Pay for a table of dishes and then let us go. There are so many guests in the Canvas Lunar restaurant. If I told you that I would pay for the dishes and asked you to give up your table, who would be willing? No one would be willing. That so-called second young master of the Wang family can't even bear to pay 1,000 taels of silver. He is still pretending to be a rich young master. Haha. Since he didn't need to worry about his clan, what was there for Ting Qingshan to be afraid of? Except for the rare innate experts, no one in the acquired realm could make Ting Qingshan afraid. Haha! The whole restaurant was filled with laughter. Those who dined here were either rich or noble, so they were happy to watch the show. The noble young master and the strong man's face darkened. "It seems that you don't give me face." The noble young master's face darkened and he shouted, "Take them down!" The 2 guards behind him immediately stepped forward. "Guests!" The waiter was also anxious. "Motherf ***, what's with the noise? So what if you're rich?" A thunderous roar resounded in the Canvas Lunar restaurant. Bang! 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 Messy footsteps could be heard as a large group of people walked down the stairs. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu also turned their heads to look at the staircase. This group of people were all dressed in black, and the leader was a big man who looked like a black bear standing upright. He had stubble on his face, and his eyes were like copper bells. He was extremely muscular, and the sleeves of his black robe had 2 golden edges. As these people walked down the stairs, the atmosphere on the first floor seemed to freeze. "I hate people who bully others the most. All of you, get lost!" the bearded man roared. The 2 guards turned to look at the noble young master, as if they wanted to consult their young master's opinion. The bearded man's face darkened and he moved. Who? Like a bolt of lightning, he instantly arrived in front of the two guards and swung his arm. Bang! His right arm directly sent the two strong guards flying, and they fell heavily on the street in the distance, knocking down a few pedestrians. My words are useless now. The bearded man glared. An expert. Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up. No matter what, at least this bearded man's qigong was not bad. Brother Xia. The centurion of the city guards who had been silent also quickly said, I didn't expect you to be here too. I'm really sorry for disturbing Brother Xia's drinking mood. Let's go and have a few drinks, how about it? Take it as me apologizing to Brother Xia on behalf of second young Master Wang. The noble young master at the side was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything. Oh, I was wondering who that kid was relying on. So it's you. I don't have time to drink with you. Get lost. The bearded man scolded. Then, the bearded man turned to look at Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu and laughed. I, old Xia, admire people with backbone the most. You two, not bad. You don't have to give face to these two guys. If they dare to bully you, just ask someone to send a message to the Black Armored Corps and find me, old Xia. I'll help you settle it. As he spoke, the bearded man picked up a piece of meat from Ting Qingshan's table and threw it into his mouth. Tsk, it tastes good. I, old Xia, will help you. It's okay to eat a piece of meat, right? The bearded man laughed. My brother also despises people who bully others. You can eat as much as you want, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The bearded man smiled and touched his nose. He looked at Ting Qingshan and said, You're an interesting kid. Well, remember, my name is Xia Sha. Go to the Black Armored Corps and find me. You'll definitely find me. Then, he shouted, Okay, brothers, let's go. Then, the large group of men walked out of the restaurant. Let's go. The centurion of the city guards looked a little ugly. He left with the noble young master in a sorry state. There was a sudden uproar in the restaurant. Ting Qinghu's eyes lit up. He looked enviously at the fierce man called Xia Sha leading a group of people away. He turned back to look at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, that Xia Sha is really impressive. The centurion of the city guards didn't even dare to fart when he was scolded. Awesome, awesome. That's the Black Armored Corps after all, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The city guards were only responsible for managing the civilians. The Black Armored Corps was what the sects relied on to fight against each other. Tomorrow is the Guiyuan sect's recruitment day. Tomorrow I'll send my son to the Guiyuan sect. Some guests in the Canvas Lunar restaurant immediately began to talk. Spending some money to enter is just an opportunity. It also depends on whether he can cultivate inner strength or not. If he can't, he'll be kicked out of the sect. Even if he can cultivate inner strength, he needs perseverance and understanding. Otherwise, he'll be like the second young master of the Wang family. He's just bullying ordinary people. If he meets a real master, he won't dare to speak. Listening to the discussion of the guests in the restaurant, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu paid the bill and left the restaurant. That night, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qingshan stayed in an inn. Because they were going to enter the Guiyuan sect tomorrow, Qinghu was very excited. He talked with Ting Qingshan until late at night. The next day, in the morning, on the first floor of the inn, Ting Qingshan and Ting Qingshan ordered some meat buns and 2 bowls of porridge and ate. Qingshan, yesterday, in order to find an inn in the Guiyuan sect, we went to 14 hotels before we found an empty room. It seems that there are many people who want to join the Guiyuan sect this time. Qinghu was a little excited. There are many. Ting Qingshan glanced around. The people eating breakfast on the first floor of the inn were all armed. One look and he could tell that they were martial artists. They probably wanted to join the Guiyuan sect's Black Armored Corps. Dong! 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 Many people walked down from the first floor of the inn. There were a total of 8 people. These 8 people were all very strong. The one in the lead had a cold expression, and there were 2 saber scars on his face. He carried a 6-foot-long broadsword on his back and walked down. The people behind him also held weapons, and their gazes were cold and gloomy. Ting Qingshan could smell the faint smell of blood. These 8 people ate very quickly. They ate the meat buns in one bite. They ate later than Ting Qingshan, but they finished their food faster. Let's go. The leader was the first to stand up. The other 7 people followed him. Qinghu, let's go to the Guiyuan sect. Ting Qingshan also stood up. When he went downstairs, he ordered breakfast and paid the bill. Ting Qingshan and Qinghu followed the group of people and left. People tended to gather in groups. The other cultivators in the inn also stood up one by one and left the inn. The Guiyuan sect was located in the southeast area of Jiangning County. It could be said to be a city within a city, because the Guiyuan sect and the Black Armored Corps were recruiting disciples on the same day. This caused a large number of horses and luxurious carriages outside the main entrance of the Guiyuan sect. It could be said that there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. Those who gathered here were either rich people or powerful martial artists. All of them were entering the Guiyuan sect. If you want to join the Black Armored Corps, walk this way to take the entrance examination. A large number of disciples in the Guiyuan sect were in charge of receiving guests. If you want to send your children to join the Guiyuan sect, please walk the other way. Entrance examination? Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu followed the crowd and walked towards the Guiyuan sect. I wonder what the entrance examination is. Ting Qinghu muttered. Just go to the front and see. Ting Qingshan smiled. After walking along the bluestone paved road for a while, they arrived at a spacious area. There were already over 100 people gathered in this spacious area. They were all here to participate in the Black Armored Army's assessment, and almost all of them were men. Although it was almost, there were still a few women. If you want to join the Black Armored Corps, come here one by one according to the order. Begin the examination. A deep voice sounded. Ting Qingshan and the rest immediately approached the center of the field. In the center of the field, there were 4 big black stones of different sizes. On the stones, there were white words written with a brush. They were 500 jin, 500 jin, 2000 jin, and 10,000 jin. If you can lift 500 jin, you can become an outer disciple of the Guiyuan sect. If you can lift 500 jin, you can become a new recruit of the Black Armored Corps. After going through another round of selection within the Black Armored Army, only the sergeants of the Black Armored Army remained. If you can lift 2000 jin, you can become a second-rated martial artist. If you can lift 10,000 jin, you can become a corporal of the Black Armored Corps. If you can lift 10,000 jin, you can become a first-rated martial artist. You can become a centurion of the Black Armored Corps. At that moment, the martial artists who were familiar with each other started discussing quietly. I didn't expect the requirements to become a new recruit of the Black Armored Corps. If you can lift 500 jin, you can become a new recruit, and you have to go through an internal selection. Many people were discussing. Ting Qinghu, on the other hand, was secretly relieved. Ever since Ting Qinghu started practicing the Tiger Fist, he could already lift a boulder weighing 2,000 caddies. I didn't expect the entrance examination to be like this, Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile. A large group of people formed a circle and entered the circle one by one to begin the examination. Ting Qingshan was also queuing up at the back, and at the same time, he was also watching the others take the examination. Hey! A strong man angrily snorted and lifted the 500 jin boulder. Do you want to lift the others? A disciple of the Guiyuan sect who was sitting at the side and writing with a brush asked indifferently. The man shook his head and said honestly, I can't lift 500 jin. Well, this is your sign. Go to the side and wait. Another disciple of the Gui Yuan sect threw a sign to the man. "Haha, let me do it." A stout and strong man with a fat head and big ears threw the big iron hammer in his hand to the side. The big iron hammer hit the ground with a loud bang. Then, he walked towards the 10,000 gene boulder with his big belly and grabbed it with one hand. Ha! The fat man exerted his strength, and the ground shook violently. The man lifted the 10,000 gene rock up to his neck, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't lift it anymore. The fat man panted a few times and roared angrily, but to no avail. He could only put down the rock with a loud bang. "Just a little bit more. Unfortunately, you are a second-rated martial artist." The disciple of the Guyuan sect who was writing said, "Your name, age?" "Zhu 26. The fat man picked up the big iron hammer and snorted twice. He was still mumbling, "Damn, I lifted it at home, why can't I lift it?" Chapter 78. Amazing! This Zhu, one of the positions of sergeant in the Black Armored Corps, is going to be his. The surrounding warriors exclaimed. This was because he was the only warrior who dared to challenge the 10,000 gene boulder since the beginning of the sect entrance examination, and almost succeeded. The 10,000 gene boulder was several times bigger than a human body. Many people lost their courage when they saw it. "Brother, give me the second-rated warrior plate." The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect took a black plate from a fellow disciple beside him. There was only one word on the front of the plate, second-rated. The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect wrote, "Zhu" on the back of the plate. He smiled and threw the plate to Zhu. "Brother Zhu, you have almost the strength of a first-rated warrior. Although you can't compete for the position of a centurion, you have full confidence in the position of sergeant in the Black Armored Corps." "Humph, I ate 10 steamers of buns this morning, and my stomach is bloated. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to lift it." The fat man picked up his big hammer, took the plate and walked to the side. "Qingshan, I am going to compete for the position of sergeant in the Black Armored Corps. If I meet this fat man, I will immediately admit defeat. I can't even take a hit from this guy." Ting Qinghu said to Ting Qingshan, "Oh right, Qingshan, when are we going to lift the boulder for the sect entrance examination? I am not in a hurry. You can go if you want to." Ting Qingshan stood in the crowd and watched the entrance examinations one by one. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. "Move aside, let me do it." With a loud shout, the lean young man, who was still wrapped in animal skin, strode into the center of the open space and went straight to the 2,000 gene boulder. Stretching out his arms, his steel-like arms clamped onto the black boulder. His hands held the bottom of the boulder firmly. The words 2,000 gene written on the black boulder in white were very eye-catching. Ha! With a low shout, the lean young man's body slightly shook and the black boulder was lifted with a loud bang. "Good! What a man!" Immediately the crowd cheered. The young man in animal skin smiled and threw the black rock to the side. "Do you still want to lift 10,000 gene?" The disciple who was responsible for writing the records of the Gui Yuan sect asked smilingly. "No." The young man shook his head. "Name and age." The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect took a second-rated warrior token from the side. "Fu Junfan, 16. The young man said. 16? A second-rate martial artist at the age of 16? This young man has a bright future. Where did this kid come from? He's so powerful." The surrounding group of martial artists was shocked. Most of those who joined the Black Armored Corps were over 20 years old. Generally, the stronger ones were older. Ting Qingshan also glanced at the young man named Fu Junfan in surprise. 16 years old? Isn't that a little younger than me? There were still a few days before the yearly sacrifice. After the yearly sacrifice, Ting Qinghan would be 17 years old. "Fu Junfan, The person in charge of the entrance examination was a middle-aged man in a gray robe with a sturdy build. He had been silently watching the entrance examination. Fu Junfan, who was only 16 years old, also attracted his attention. This Fu Junfan is the third second-rated martial artist. There is not a single first-rated warrior. Big brother, there are not many experts who joined the Black Armored Corps this time. It's only been an hour. Don't worry, the experts haven't come out yet. A cold voice came from not far away from Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan glanced at the voice. The one who spoke was a skinny man with 2 scars on his face. He carried a huge saber on his back. Ting Qingshan saw this man and his heart skipped a beat. It's him. Ting Qingshan had met this man when he was having breakfast at the inn. He remembered that there were 7 other people with this skinny man. From their tone, this scarred man should be an extremely powerful warrior. Ting Qingshan judged. The entrance examination was carried out in an orderly manner. As time passed, more and more people came to watch. Haha, I'll do it! With a loud shout, Ting Qinghu stepped into the central area. Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up. Green Tiger lifting 2,000 jin should not be a problem. Ting Qingshan was very clear that even if he did not use inner strength, Ting Qinghu, who had achieved some success in the Tiger Fist, could lift 2,000 jin with brute force. If he used inner strength, he could lift up to 300 to 400 jin. Without any hesitation, Ting Qinghu carried the 2,000 jin boulder with both hands. He shouted. Ting Qinghu's muscular arms bulged with blue veins as he lifted the 2,000 jin boulder high into the air. He put it down casually. Ping! The 2,000 jin boulder landed heavily on the ground. Haha, don't ask. I can't lift that 10,000 jin boulder. Ting Qinghu laughed heartily and said straightforwardly. His straightforward temperament also caused the surrounding martial artists to laugh out of goodwill. A man with strength and a straightforward temper would not be hated by others. The Guiyuan sect disciple also laughed. Your name and age? Ting Qinghu. I'm 22 this year. After the yearly sacrifice, I'll be 23. Ting Qinghu said directly. After the yearly sacrifice, everyone will be 1 year older. There's no need to mention it. The Guiyuan sect disciple said with a smile and wrote Ting Qinghu's name on the plate. After receiving the second-rated warrior plate, Ting Qinghu walked to Ting Qingshan's side and said, Qingshan, look at this plate. There's nothing special about it. It's just black ink with a few words written with a brush. Just as Ting Qingshan looked at the plate, a familiar voice suddenly sounded. Move! Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw the scarred man squeezing through the 2 warriors in front of him and walked to the center of the open space. Who pushed the old? One of the 2 warriors who was pushed away was immediately enraged. He was about to curse, but when he saw the huge saber on the other party's back, he immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare to say another word. The saber on the scarred man's back was 6 feet, 15 meters, long. Ordinary people would not be able to use such a huge saber. The scarred man walked straight to the center of the open space and walked towards his target, the 10,000 jin boulder. Until now, no one could completely lift a 10,000 jin boulder. He wants to lift 10,000 jin? It seems that this person is also a ruthless character. The surrounding people discussed in low voices, but all of their eyes were fixed on the scarred man. The scarred man did not use the saber and directly lifted the 10,000 jin boulder with both hands. With a sudden angry snort, a trace of green light appeared on the scarred man's face. The 10,000 jin black boulder was directly lifted up. The scarred man's arms bulged with blue veins, and then he threw the boulder to the ground. The 10,000 jin boulder crashed onto the ground, and half of it sank into the ground. The middle-aged man in the gray robe, who was sitting behind the other young disciples of the Guiyuan sect, could not help but stand up and laughed. Good, a first-rated warrior. Today, The first-rated warrior of the entrance examination has appeared. Brother, what's your name and age? Gong Yangqing, 36. The scarred man said coldly. Gong Yangqing? Gong Yangqing from Shuyang County? The Gong Yangqing who killed 300 mounted gangsters in one night? The surrounding warriors were suddenly shocked. Shuyang County, the leader of Ramhorn Mountain? Why is he here? Gong Yangqing, doesn't he have 7 sworn brothers? Now that he is here, his brothers should be here as well. The appearance of such a famous expert aroused everyone's interest. In the 9 prefectures of the world, Yangzhou had a total of 13 counties. Among them, 9 counties were controlled by Qinghu Island. 1 county was controlled by the Guiyuan sect. 1 county was controlled by Tai Hall. The other 2 counties were a mix of sects and forces. In comparison, the people living in those 2 counties were suffering unspeakably. The people of Jiangning County were already considered very happy. Shuyang County was one of these 2 counties. The dignified leader of Ramhorn Mountain, why did he come to our Jiangning County and join the Black Armored Corps? Some warriors discussed in low voices. Qinghu also looked at the scarred man. Hearing the surrounding people's discussion, he then said excitedly in a low voice, Qingshan, this Gong Yangqing is a powerful person. He was once the leader of a big gang in Shuyang County. Qingshan, you have to be careful of him in this competition for the position of Centurion of the Black Armored Corps. Ting Qingshan smiled. Other than that time when he fought with the Flood Dragon, he had never truly revealed his strength. Qinghu wasn't sure either. Centurion. Ting Qingshan only smiled as he watched the others take the entrance test. In his heart, Ting Qingshan had already reserved the position of Centurion. In the blink of an eye, 4 hours had passed. Everyone. The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak from the Guiyuan sect stood up and said loudly, the entrance test in the morning will end before noon. There is still 15 minutes before noon. Those who want to take the entrance test, please hurry up. Why don't we continue in the afternoon? Ting Qingshan turned his head and glanced at a huge stone sundial in the distance. A sundial was a simple tool to measure time. It wasn't very complicated to make. Up until now, there have been 21 second-rated warriors. Gong Yangqing is the only first-rated warrior. Ting Qingshan remembered clearly that up until now, the only ones who caught his attention were the 16-year-old Fu Junfan, who was the same age as him, and the 8 brothers of Gong Yangqing. Gong Yangqing himself was a first-rated warrior. His 7 brothers were all second-rated warriors. He couldn't rule out the possibility that his 7 brothers were holding back their strength. Qingshan, when will you take the entrance test? In the afternoon? Ting Qinghu asked. In the afternoon? In that case, don't I have to pay for my own lunch? Ting Qingshan teased. At the same time, he also smiled as he walked towards the central open space. Lunch? You have to pay for it? Ting Qinghu couldn't help but be stunned. According to the rules of the Guiyuan sect, as long as one passed the entrance test, their meals would be provided by the Guiyuan sect for free. If he didn't take the entrance test, Ting Qingshan would have to go out and buy his own lunch. This young man is walking towards the 10,000 gene boulder. Don't tell me he also wants to lift the 10,000 gene boulder. Seeing the direction in which Ting Qingshan was walking, the surrounding group of people quickly quietened down and stared at Ting Qingshan. Even Gong Yangqing and his 7 brothers looked over as well. Both of his hands firmly grasped the 2 sides of the 10,000 gene boulder. Ting Qingshan shouted in a low voice. Who? The 10,000 gene boulder was lifted high above his head without the slightest bit of effort. Subsequently, Ting Qingshan threw the 10,000 gene boulder. Haha, another first-rated warrior. This morning, the second first-rated warrior has appeared. The middle-aged man in gray robe laughed loudly. May I ask for this brother's name and age? The surrounding warriors were also in an uproar. They were all discussing who this young man was. Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. 16. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.